Wasikilizaji, tukiwa tumekuandalia taarifa za kusisimua, muziki wa kata viungo na kindumbwendumbwe cha siasa au politics ukipenda. We're streaming live on Facebook from Kilimanjaro studios outside Washington DC. We will shortly be going live on YouTube, so call all your YouTube friends. And please remember to subscribe to both our YouTube and Facebook pages at The OneMic Show, and then follow us on Instagram at OneMic Show. We are also taking calls live tonight at 202-683-4570. Press *5 to speak. Now, later tonight in the social segment, now following the tragic murder of a 28-year-old Arvo Otieno in the hands of Virginia police, we'll have a conversation on mental health and whether brutality against blacks by police is a case of rotten apples or a systemic issue. So I want you to keep it locked for that. Bila kusahau, tapokea mziki toka DJ wetu machachari mleta habari DJ OmoshFaya na kudunda kule viwanjani na Micah jezi yake nambari 7 mgongoni akituletea habari za michezo. Na moja kwa moja toka Kilimanjaro studios ni mimi mtangazaji na mwanahabari wako mpendwa Ali Badawy. Wengi wananiita mteule na kule kwetu wananiita mjukuu wa Masai, because I'm Kenyan by blood, American by design, Masai by choice. Sichagui, sikagui na sibagui. Karibuni.
Now, let's talk politics.
Now, this hour we're gonna be reviewing views and opinions about Kenya's economy from diaspora Kenyans. Now, 6 months into William Ruto's presidency, the cost of living has shot up and hustlers are crying. We shall also be sampling some views from Kenyans who are living in Kenya, so stay tuned for that and more. I'm your co-host and producer Ali Badawy. It's Friday the 17th of March, and we're coming to you live from Kilimanjaro studios outside Washington, D.C. And please remember to subscribe to our OneMic Show YouTube channel and follow us on Instagram and Facebook at OneMic Show. Now, the regular panelist, Mr. OneMic Kamakawa, is absent with apologies tonight. Ruth is on set tonight. Sports anchor Micah will be joining us later on via Zoom. And our resident DJ OmoshFaya is live on the decks Kamakawa Pale. And also not forgetting, our super producer is none other than Mubelwa Bandio. He's also going to be on the board today. He's going to be replacing Uno Mike. So he's going to be doing two things at the same time. Kwa super producer and also running the board. Now, before we get started on the conversation tonight, you know, like this has been an interesting week. There was a date, March 14th, which is being referred to as Equal Pay Day. I don't know whether a lot of you are familiar with this, but I want to welcome Ruth to the show. And Ruth is going to be telling us what the 14th of March means. Ruth, karibu sana. Okay. All right. Karibu sana, Ruth.
Thank you.
Okay.
I'm glad to be back in the studio.
I know.
I'm just kind of getting a feel of like, am I
okay, it's been
producer?
a while. Yeah. It's been a while.
So
Maka, you're feeling
I'm
like
rusty. I'm very rusty.
Rusty, am
A bit.
you feeling guilty? You've been calling.
I'm never
calling out
guilty.
sick.
Never guilty.
You've been calling out sick when
Never
you're actually
guilty.
not sick.
I'm never guilty. I did
Okay.
not call in sick, by the way, but I'm never guilty.
Okay. Sawa. You know, we'll take that. But March 14th.
So
What's
pay
special
day.
about that day?
So on average, I need to use that word. On average,
Uh-huh.
today is the day that women's pay matches to what men earned the whole of last year.
So, for someone who did a man who did a job in 2022,
Yes.
earnings from January 1st to December 31st.
Yeah.
So, the same woman who started working at January 1st,
Yeah.
today is when they're catching up.
They're catching up. Like, no, today we made the same as what the man made in 2022.
Wow. That's quite interesting.
Yeah.
But that's on average.
That's on average.
That's on average.
Yeah.
Okay.
The boss women out here.
Okay. Because there's been that issue of pay equity.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people maybe do not quite understand. And I think that's just a simple way of
explaining it, by the way. Yes.
Meaning, and here we're
And by
talking
the
about
way,
people who are doing the same job.
Same job,
Yeah.
on average, right? Can I
Uh-huh.
also say that's not black women, that's not people of color. Like
Uh-huh.
their day is not today.
Oh, okay. So when is the day for?
I don't know that yet.
Okay,
But,
all right.
yeah.
But let's, OmoshFaya, karibu sana. Were you aware about this?
This is something new to me. I've never heard of the day when you match pay, and clearly it doesn't parlay to our people. So
What do you mean?
we march on.
What do you mean by it doesn't parlay to our people?
It doesn't equate to people of our skin color.
Black people.
Black people.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have our own date.
I bet you if somebody was to do research based upon where things are now, to go March.
We're March 17th.
17th.
Yeah.
I would probably give it at least another 4 months.
Okay. All right.
Unfortunately.
Another 4 months.
Yeah.
So the data is there. So like so on average, women
Yeah.
is March 14th.
Mm-hmm.
Black women is farther into the year.
Okay.
Black men is I don't think it's really 2022, but it's not as farther out as
Okay.
yeah.
So is this compared to white men
Yeah.
or just men overall? Because
That's a good one.
white men earn higher
So
than black men.
I think when they just talk about actually, can I say something? I'm gonna be honest here and say I don't know whether that's just based on white men.
Okay.
I just don't want to go there and call it that.
Okay.
But I do know there's a date for women
Mm-hmm.
and there's a date for black women.
Okay.
So this women includes black women,
Mhm.
but like just black women by themselves,
Okay.
the date is farther along in the year.
Okay. I think that would be.
And can I
interesting.
say,
Yeah.
black women are the most overqualified in the work
In the workforce,
in the workforce. Thank
black
you.
women are the most overqualified in the workforce.
I think I would even add to that and say that they probably have more corporate knowledge than most.
Wow, that's interesting.
Because they tend to stay on those jobs longer than most, and probably started at the bottom. So if they're somewhere mid-tier,
And now they're here.
washafanya hizo kazi zote, and they know what's above and what's below, but
Okay.
the pay is not commensurate.
This is very interesting. I think not fully confirmed, but next week we're gonna be talking to career expert Tabitha Njeri.
Wololo.
That's
Tabitha confirmed.
that's a good conversation to have with her.
Absolutely.
Because I think it's important, for all of us to know,
Yeah.
for people to understand the context of when, the issue of pay equity is mentioned, because there's sometimes a tendency to dismiss it, like, just work hard and you're going to earn whatever, like you were meant to earn. But so I think this might be a good conversation to have with her.
Definitely.
For people to
definitely.
have
Absolutely.
a good understanding. So the show tonight is going to be slightly different due to public demand. We're doing something different. We've had so many interviews this year. This is one of the few episodes where tuko sisi peke yetu. And these are good moments because this is when Kiswahili tunasema tunakuja kutafakari. Na si ya mjukuu. Tunakuja tu kutafakari.
Tafangoa.
Tafakari.
Tafakari.
Hiyo hapo that language that you speak, I don't think there's an equivalent word. And even in English, I don't think there's an equivalent word for tafakari. But I think, it's a good moment maybe to reflect.
To reflect.
Yeah,
yes.
it's a good moment for reflection.
This is the same as
Yeah.
Msamiati, all of those things.
It's
at
a good
this
moment
point.
for reflection and just, have conversations about what's currently happening out here in the US and back home in Kenya. There's that news, of course, that we've all been following of a Kenyan, a 28-year-old Kenyan who was murdered by 7 police deputies in Virginia. I think the murder occurred in Dinwiddie County in Virginia. It was in a mental health facility. We're going to be talking
It
about
wasn't
that.
Henrico?
Henrico, I think, is where Henrico is where the jail was.
is, uh-huh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
is where the jail was. But I
hospital.
think the murder might have happened in the
hospital.
mental health facility or in the jail. I'm not
It
sure.
was in the
exactly where
hospital.
it happened.
It was a hospital. It
Yeah,
was
so
state,
the hospital
state
is
hospital.
in, yes,
I think
the
is name
hospital
of
is
the place.
Dinwiddie
Wow.
County, and Virginia is very interesting. It's not too far from us,
Suseme tu ni Richmond.
but a very different place. They call it south of Richmond, and Apple maybe where once our sports anchor comes in, Micah, who's the subject matter expert of that part of Virginia, he will give us more details
Google is your friend.
about that.
I should not be laughing, but I cannot wait for us to talk about that because can I say
Yes.
I have never watched the entire 9 minutes of George Floyd.
Mm-hmm.
I can't even watch any of the press conferences. It's just so hard. I think this even hits home because like when it's a Kenyan,
Yeah.
you're like, oh my God. So
I know.
I have avoided that news so much. Like
you can run, but you can't hide. Not from this.
Yeah.
one.
No. And that's why I want us to talk about it, right? There's a ton of things that we can educate ourselves on. But I think I'm just talking about like just listening to people describe what happened. People, the family's pain.
It's sad.
It's
Man,
hard.
that
It's
press
so
conference with the
hard.
mom.
I
Yeah.
couldn't watch. I watched like a few seconds, and I was like, I can't. I
And
cannot
she
imagine my
was- She
mother.
held
she's
herself
so strong.
together, articulate. In
You-
fact,
you
I think
know-
even Ameweza, I think even Cramp could not have done that job, even if he tried.
You know, when I was watching it, I felt like that was my mother.
Boss,
And-
that
and
was
you know-
all our mothers, and
Yeah.
you could feel her
Yeah,
pain.
I couldn't.
But
It was so
more than
hard.
her pain, you felt her anger. And she has it. In fact, she had pain, but she was more angry
Yeah.
than the pain in
And-
terms of
and-
the way
and-
she,
and
she
that's-
reflected it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was one of, at that point, if you had given her a gun and told her point here and shoot, she would have done it. It was because this was one of those senseless, needless, and
Unnecessary.
I have so many questions behind how it even got to the point where the cops were the escorters of this guy when he was having his mental challenge / breakdown.
So, I mean, somebody who's worked in the mental health field, and I think we're jumping the gun here by talking about all this right now.
To shine gear, we are here.
But
tuendelee.
we need to put a pin on it. I had to call cops on
Mhm.
clients,
Okay.
but it was known that their job was just to transport them to the hospital because at that point it was involuntary hospitalization.
Sure.
Okay.
Right.
And in this case, the initial call went to his doctor.
So this we're gonna talk about
Yes.
in the social
we do need to
segment.
move it to its
Yeah.
appropriate.
Yeah, and I can see, our audience wameingia hapo Slay Odwar, karibu sana. Brenda
Hi,
BK,
Slay. I don't know why I
Brenda
was
BK, we
laughing.
welcome
Did
you.
Slay give it a 3? Sorry.
And then we
Sorry,
have
sorry.
also Luis Muya. Luis Muya amekuja mapema leo, karibu sana Luis Muya. And Slay here says it has come to our doorstep. We need to talk about it. I was also avoiding it too. So that's going to be in the social segment.
Yeah.
So
I
I
can't
want you to stay
imagine.
tuned.
I can't imagine, especially
Yes.
a mother in this country.
Absolutely.
Any mother,
Very sad.
any parent,
It's
especially
just-
in this way.
Yes, but now
Yeah.
back to like our politics hour.
Yeah.
We want to talk a little bit about what's going on in Kenya.
Yeah.
Like there's a Manderano that's being planned on Monday by Azimio leader Raila Odinga.
Ali,
Um,
please break it down. You know, when you say maandamano,
Yeah.
I look at it as a demonstration,
Yes.
A procession,
protest.
actually.
right?
Mass
And,
action.
this one is like wale watu wa Syria.
So it's across the country.
Ama ni mimi ndio
Across the
sijaelewa.
continent.
Yeah, it's across the continent.
Yeah.
There's something that happening across the continent, but now we're looking at it from
Just in
from a
Kenya.
Kenyan context.
Yeah.
And of course, this is about 6 months from when President Ruto got elected. I'm still getting used to saying President Ruto. It doesn't rhyme well, but President Ruto got elected.
Some people
It's
have
6
another
months.
name for him.
Yeah, it's 6 months.
Nabi.
And and people, I think it's gotten to that point where Kenyans are united again. During elections, people are usually so divided.
Correct.
And then right after elections, people come back united in grief. And that's where we are.
Or when they realize that we were really all in this together.
Yes.
We were never apart.
Yes, it doesn't matter whether you're
Foko jembe
Azimio.
nyinyi wote.
It doesn't matter whether you're a hustler. I think the only people who are maybe not are celebrating are the people who've been the 50 they're called CAS.
CAS.
Yeah. Uhuru, by the way, this is an unconstitutional position. Uhuru appointed 26 and now they've been doubled to 50.
No, but they ruled it as being constitutional.
Yeah, no, so the courts ruled not necessarily, they did not rule it being constitutional. They said
didn't rule
it
against
did
it.
not violate anything in
Okay.
the constitution.
Yeah.
So it's okay.
Because there's no specificity about this particular
So that's a
role.
bad loophole because the spirit of the constitution was to get rid of all these limit the number of cabinet secretaries,
Correct.
get rid of all this
Ministries,
cohort
all that
of
stuff, yeah.
assistant ministers. But now this is a loophole that it has been brought back. But back to the conversation, people have been complaining about the cost of living. If it's not unga, it's electricity. If it's not electricity, it's the cost of transportation, the cost of fuel, everything. So this time we decided to do something different, and we went and talked to our audience, to ask people how they feel about what's happening in Kenya and how it's affecting our pocketbooks out here in the diaspora. And one of the people that we were fortunate to talk to was one of our loyal listeners, Miss Leo Dwar. She's there already listening, and she was airing some of her concerns with what's happening in Kenya. Producer, please play that clip.
My concerns are that the Kenyan economy is headed in a downward spiral. It just feels like, nothing seems to be getting better. If it's not electricity, it's unga. If it's not unga, it's gas. The cost of living is just going up. I know the cost of living is going up here too, but I feel like Kenya, it's a whole different ball game.
Okay, so that's Sleo Dwar talking about, the cost of unga, cost of electricity, cost of cooking gas, and those of us who have family in Kenya, we are hearing these conversations not only on social media, but in our inboxes, in our text messages.
If Wave had an inbox,
yeah,
I think that's where we would see all of this.
Oh my goodness.
Like WhatsApp would be eliminated. Ingekuwa tu your inbox ya Wave.
Yeah, it would have been buzzing all the time.
That would be the alarm.
You would have been buzzing
At
all
least
the time.
1 a.m. like this. That's when those things come in.
Yeah.
Because unajua hiyo ndio ya kuamka. Between 12 and 1 hapo. Ya kuamka breakfast time, you realize vitu ni mbaya and your day is here. Najua ndio hiyo inakam.
I was just doing an assessment of how prices have increased. Of course, this increase in the last 1 year during COVID and post-COVID has been quite swift. But I was just looking overall, the first loaf of bread that I ever bought was 5 shillings. And I'm a young guy, I'm kind of young.
Is this that time of Magadi, ama time ya Nairobi West, ama time
so this is in the 90s, late 80s.
Okay.
Early
okay, because
90s,
that's why I was trying to gauge where you are.
No. I mean my late 20 teens, but
okay.
But yeah, during that time, I think if I'm not mistaken, I think it was 5 bob. The cost of a loaf of bread right now, I think it's trending towards 100 bob, if I'm not mistaken.
It's not there.
It's not there?
I don't know. I haven't.
Okay. So anybody, anybody listening who knows the current cost of bread right now in Kenya, please write it in the comments.
I know milk, I think it's 250 ml, 500 ml is like 70 something in December.
So 70
Not right
something.
now.
So the 500 ml packet, the first one that I ever bought was 2 shillings and 50 cents. So if you
when was that?
I remember.
He said it
the
was the first
20s.
one. He said it was the first one.
Oh,
now,
no.
Just
It was.
one. So
he
like
was sent to the
when you were
kiosk.
3 years old.
He was sent to the kiosk.
I mean, me,
6 years old.
I was a smart girl.
He was
3 years
sent to
old.
the kiosk.
I knew how to
3
go to
years,
buy.
6 years old.
I knew how to go buy milk when I was
What
3 years old.
century was that?
Wait, stick to the
Grandma
topic.
had
Why
sent him. There was a loose nyota
distracted?
that needed to be brought along with.
But understand one thing: milk was 2 shillings and 50 cents. So currently, it's 70 shillings.
Yeah.
So
As of December.
It might be more right now.
Yeah.
So
And they come in different sizes now. Back then it was size moja.
So ilikuwa size moja 500 ml. So your 500 ml.
Was it 500? I thought it was 300.
No, it was 500 ml.
Kaleka square.
No, the
That's
triangle.
actually-
Yeah.
The triangular
the
packet
triangle,
at KCC.
yes.
Yeah, it was 500 ml. So 500 ml was 2 shillings and 50 cents.
That was a lot. Because do we even have a 500 now?
No, but right now, you stick with me here. Right
Sorry.
now,
Listen
it's
to
70
Ali.
bob. So the cost, it has increased 28 times. So think about it. I don't know what the cost of milk was in America, a gallon of milk when you came, because you came, like back in those days. You might have met Obama's
I
dad.
actually
It was
had.
$2
I had
or
seen.
something.
I'd seen it when it was under $2.
cents.
I think it was like about like 99 cents, and depended on what if it was
Okay.
like 1% or.
So
whatever.
let's say that gallon was 99 cents.
Yeah.
So
it's
now
A gallon was ever 99 cents?
yes,
Yeah.
yes, at some point. But now it's around maybe $4.
Yeah.
So let's say it's increased 4-fold. But in Kenya, within that same time period, it has increased 28-fold. So that's the equivalent of milk in America costing $28. Just think about that. Because it was $1, within that same period in Kenya, the price has increased 28-fold. So just think about it in the context of America. milk would have been $28 if the increase in price of goods in America was the same as the increase of price of goods in Kenya. So that's $28, which is astronomical.
Yeah.
And that's part of the reason why Slay is bringing up this issue of milk, unga, electricity, gas, because these are things that
Everything
people
has
need.
gone up.
Basics.
These are basic needs, and everything has gone up, right?
But I think they're being driven also by fuel.
There's so
Like,
many
as long as
other
fuel
things.
goes up,
like,
everything else goes up.
there's so many things that are a factor, and as preparing for this conversation today, I just went online and just literally just Googling the Kenyan economy from just like this the status of the Kenyan economy. And it's interesting. Last year, there were different publications on different media stations in Kenya on some people are saying it's rebounded very well from COVID. It's doing well. And then there are alarms, people, ringing bells, like there's a crisis in the Kenyan economy. I think, and most of the conversation were right before the election. Then after the election, there's always this honeymoon period where people don't really talk much about the economy.
Yeah.
But then I think we're at the point where right now it's like, wait, things are still going not so well.
Yeah.
And I think I was talking to a friend of mine who actually works for the feds out here, and he said it's gonna get bad in Kenya because of like we borrowed too much in the previous administration.
This
Okay.
goes
Right?
back to economists. Do we even have any?
Now, and here, and
But
that issue
Pole.
of borrowing, we're going to come to
We'll
it.
come to it.
We're borrowing
So
in a
that's-
foreign
that-
currency.
And that is one
Yes.
area of it. So it's not like the only one. It's just
Yes.
one area of it. And then also our public bill is so high, right? And it does not help that President Ruto added more to the public wage bill actually
Yes.
to make it even balloon even more. I think if they're asking Kenyans, because I think the treasury minister or whatever that person is was saying 2023 is going to be bad economically for Kenya.
Yes.
So I'm glad that they're saying that they're quote unquote preparing people for that. But if you're going to tell Kenyans, tighten your belt, so does the
Which belt?
government.
You don't own a belt.
Wait. If I'm just saying, if you're gonna tell people it's gonna be bad,
Kaza mkanda.
hata wewe mwenyewe unaambia tu kutakuwa kubaya, sa acting the same.
Show us
How.
Yeah.
The problem is you're saying one thing but acting differently. I think that is where the dissonance is. And I understand people saying like we have to protest this because we cannot afford basic needs. But then you're giving people millions of shillings to survive in this economy. Well, we need some of that money.
Okay. All right. So we're gonna go, to the next part of Slay's conversation, which is about diaspora pockets being affected. But real quick before we get there, some quick comments here coming. I see, Slay here is saying this is wild. And Slay is telling Mubelo Bandio, I come in peace. If cost of fuel is going up in Kenya, I'm sure it's going up in TZ too.
Sure.
How are they managing? And I think real quick, Apo Bandio, just kwa dakika moja, maybe tell us if these price increments are restricted to Kenya ama if you're facing the same issues in Tanzania. Mubelwa.
I'm not sure about the ratio, but it's getting up too.
Okay.
And people are complaining.
Okay. Cost of living pay
Cost
iko
of
juu
living
kule.
it's crazy. Just like Omosh said, somehow it's driven by fuel.
Yes.
Correct.
So if depending on how much you depend on fuel,
Yes.
and where you get that fuel,
Mm-hmm.
any changes in oil prices will affect you.
And fuel affects
Tremendous.
literally all sectors of the economy.
Yes.
I don't know
Yeah.
any sector that does not rely on transportation.
And by the way, this is I think the numbers just came out. I think is it Saudi? Those guys made the most money from fuel.
Oh, those
this
guys-
past I guess the past fiscal year.
Those guys are minting. They're
It's the
building another
most-
Dubai.
It's the most money they have made.
Yeah. That's why they're
Since-
building another Dubai and they're buying in a Cristiano
So
Ronaldo.
hii war ya Ukraine inaonekana
Changing
inawasaidia. Si kwa ubaya.
I mean, unfortunately, there's
Inawasaidia
always
ile.
people who
Benefit from more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
These guys have made a lot of money.
Okay.
They made a lot of
All
money.
right. And then hapa Nduku Ndambuki karibu sana anasema we are busy eating prayers daily.
Ai nduku.
Okay, Nduku.
Why?
Alafu Washeke anasema we should all be concerned. Has anyone seen the bloodbath on the Nairobi Stock Exchange? investors are pulling money away from Kenya. And this is a time, me, I was mentally thinking that
Uingie.
I want to test
Uingie.
the waters.
Atufanye unyuro one, atiweka
Yes.
yakafut.
If you go to a website called mystocks.co.ke, it's red kila pahali. Red, all the stocks. Red kila pahali, red on the floor, red on the ceiling.
I don't
red.
think Silicon Valley Bank helped things. I would say I invest in a company in Kenya, and man, they wrote us a really strong email, like not strong in the sense of like, it's more like telling us we're doing our best to make sure that we're not impacted by this. And I can only Credit Suisse also, had to
In
get
Europe.
it had to kind of be built by the Swiss government, right?
Yes.
So like there's just so much happening in the global economy. And unfortunately, when things are happening globally, and just talk about like interest rates being raised in Kenya, in the US, that is affecting the dollar here and abroad,
time.
right?
Big
So there are local factors that like the drought to begin with, policies that be made, but also there are factors outside of Kenya's control.
Absolutely.
So like it's gonna get bad. Like I think it's good to be. Unfortunately, it's good to actually own it up. It's going to get bad. Like, we need to start putting more money aside in the diaspora if you support your families in Kenya, because they're going to ask for it.
Okay, all right. And then Tucha karibu sana. I have Ken Paul Kenny here, karibu. Ken Paul says previous administrations had current president as second in command. That should be the denominator always. Ken, maybe you can elaborate on that.
Yeah, can you explain that, please?
Yeah. And then Ken further says, during the campaigns, they said the war in Ukraine had nothing to do with the situation. Now they are using the same excuse they refuted. Very interesting coming from Ken
Sounds
there.
like BBI.
And then Washeke says, inflation is pretty much all over the world.
Correct.
But the high taxation and weak shilling makes it much higher in Kenya. So let's go back to Slay Odwar and her comments and what she said about diaspora pockets. Because this is happening in Kenya. You might think that you have your nice job here, like you're earning your nice money. But let's hear what Slay said about diaspora pockets. Producer.
We send money home. There are people who've invested back home, in as much as you've advised against, investments like Airbnb, but there are people who still have invested back home, bought land, have businesses back home. And I think, the way the economy is going and the exchange rate of the Kenya shilling versus the dollar, I think it's hurting our pocket.
Okay. All right. Investments. We have...
What was she crying in the end?
It sounded like she was crying.
Oh, come on.
I would cry too.
No, you didn't hear.
I mean, look, if you own an Airbnb, if you own an Airbnb,
I think
Can we stick to the topic, please?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Okay,
No.
stick to the comments.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Stick to
she's
the
talking.
facts.
She was talking about investments. If you Kenyans who have investments, Kenyans in the diaspora who have investments back home.
Yeah.
Like those investments are losing value very fast. Let's
So
just be realistic.
These are not the watu wa kweli.
No.
Hawa ni wale walipita kweli.
Our Lipita Quail, we are talking about legit. We're talking about legit investments. Wachana na watu wa kweli.
No, because this has always been the trend. If it's quail, we do quail. If it's forex, we do forex. If it's Airbnb, we do Airbnb.
If it's apartments in
If it's
Kilimani, we do apartments in
yes,
Kilimani.
It's the trend.
Yeah.
Well,
Kahawa Sukari is a
can
new
I
trend.
say something?
Eh?
Can
Kahawa
I say?
Sukari is a new trend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I say something?
Yes,
It
sure.
really, when people make decisions about investing, right? Really hope it's based on sound advice, or they've done their research about why they're investing. But like you really can, get into their decisions to invest. I think where we can empathize with them is, we are heading into tough economic times globally.
Correct.
Yes.
We are already in them. Like, let's just talk about the US itself. Like, the Fed is trying to force a mini recession, right, in the US.
Yes.
And then, that kind of ripples across the globe.
Yes.
In so many ways. So imagine diaspora losing their jobs, because part of the recession is people losing jobs. They
Yes.
literally want that to happen. And the ripple effect of that, those investments are in jeopardy now. Your family that you're supporting in Kenya are in jeopardy at that point. It's for how is it going to affect the diaspora? Like as I said, we need to put aside more money than we normally would to support people. But also, we are also fighting inflation here. So we are
Yes.
paying more for things here.
Yes.
We are paying more to support people back home. And if you have investment on top of that you need to take care of in Kenya, you kind of have to shell out more for that. I mean, it's...
Yeah, because if you're not coming out of pocket before, you're
Exactly.
now definitely coming out
Yeah,
of pocket
yeah,
to support that monthly payment, assuming you took a loan.
Assuming you take a loan,
Yeah.
so it's gonna be hard. And they're telling Kenyans to be to prepare for hard times ahead for this year. I mean, Jeff Bezos did call this last year. It's like, do not buy that refrigerator. Don't buy that thing you want to buy. This what are they called? Durable goods. Like, don't buy them now. Can I wait for a bit?
Yeah.
And I think that people need to look at your finances and see how you're gonna weather this. And unfortunately, for people in the diaspora, you're not the only one weathering this hard economic times. You have to worry about your family.
Yes.
Yeah, most of us are a paycheck away.
You have a black tax.
We have black, and it's a
Yep.
big
Yeah.
wage. That black tax is
It's a big black
wage.
tax.
It's a big one.
Yep.
So you have to worry not only for yourself. Will I keep the job? So I kept the job. I need to reduce my spending because I'm spending more. I'm sending more money back home. So we need to literally look at your finances again.
The most scary thing, Ruth, is that when I look at people who get into my inbox, I start getting
DMs.
worried when it's typically a family member who typically has never asked me for money. That starts to worry me that
Yeah.
this is someone who typically doesn't do this.
Yeah.
It starts worrying me when it's someone who's not even a family member, but just someone who
Random.
knows you, is a friend,
Yeah.
and now they're asking you for
You did
money.
not go home in December, did you?
No, this past December I did not go
Okay.
home.
Boss,
It was bad.
this December,
It was
Yeah.
bad.
I think everything had doubled in price.
Wow.
So just at the shop, right?
Yeah.
But also people telling you anything. Kona unaweza nisaidia.
This
Right?
is
And somebody's like I remember I gave this lady this was at Surrey Center actually. I gave this lady, I don't know what she did for me, like 300 shillings. She called me 2 days later and she was like, Mami, aki asante sana, we don't know ulinisaidiaje.
Oh wow.
And then tells me, uko na kazi, nitakuja kufanya kazi.
Oof. That is
Wale wa kufua nguo nini,
And
you know,
then-
the ones who sit outside the gate.
wachana hata na hawa kufua nguo.
It's-
Do you know
yeah.
our Kenyans who go to work in the Middle East? It is
Yeah,
shocking
yeah,
sometimes when you hear the salaries
Yeah.
they are going for. There's of course those domestic jobs in Saudi Arabia, but then there are the jobs which you think this is a decent job. But when you hear what people are being
Qatar,
paid,
that's
in Qatar,
Qatar, our
you know,
regular stops now.
yeah, like
we
people are
forced to
being
go that way.
paid the equivalent of maybe 40,000 shillings or maybe sometimes even less, and you're like, this
That's
is
why you went there for.
yeah, and
But
and
there's
you know,
no jobs in Kenya.
then there are no jobs. There's a whole generation.
Yeah.
Like the way during our generation there was a lot of us who are coming to the US. Now these are the generation that the people who are in their 20s right now.
Yeah.
I think a good number of them. This is a Qatar generation.
Yeah.
We were the US generation. This
Yeah.
generation now, you know,
Yeah,
after your
yeah.
tap ya US ilifungwa, this generation wengi wako Qatar. And you can see even in the like in the voter registration, it was revealing itself. It was revealing itself, not necessarily that they are more, but they are more connected to Kenya. They've left Kenya more recently. So
yeah.
they're more connected to Kenya. They're more motivated to register to vote and that kind of thing. And that's a different flavor that you see when you go to a place like Qatar. So that right there, I mean, I know we pride ourselves in being hard workers, but I think that's a red flag. And now you're seeing Kenyans going to countries that typically you never had Kenyans going to. Middle East countries like Jordan, Kuwait, and those are places that are paying less than
Not
Qatar.
only paying less, the racism out there.
The racism,
I'm not saying we're exempt out here,
you
but
know,
like,
the kunyanyaswa, you know, like your passport being confiscated, you know, like
Upon arrival,
we have a
surrender.
generation that's being stripped of their dignity. And that's the reason why, you know, like people who are quick to say ati vijana wa siku hizi ni wavivu, me, I'm very quick to correct them.
yeah,
Hawa vijana si wavivu.
no, they're not.
Did you give them jobs and they say no? These jobs are not there. That's why they have to be creative. That's why they have to go look for places. Right now, you know, like I was reading in a certain report, the pornography industry is thriving in Kenya.
Where?
Is thriving in
Producer. Angalia bona.
Kenya. No, let's
Ngoja
tuseme
tuangalie.
tu
No,
kweli.
huyu jamaa anaangalia ni vitu zingine.
Okay.
No, tuseme it's thriving in Kenya because there are more people
Correct.
willing
Yes.
to get themselves.
Well, it's
to put
economics.
themselves out
It's
there.
economic
It's
times.
economics.
It's economics
Yeah.
101. I mean, if now that you've gone down that road, if you just piga Madhafuza Koinange Street,
Yeah.
when we were growing up, Koinange Street was a regular street.
Yes.
Now, you know, you go to upper late 2000s or whatever, it's not your regular street anymore.
No, it's not.
It's become, you know, the track.
And it's open.
You
and
know?
it even went to
And-
daytime.
and-
It used to be usiku peke yake.
And now it's become all over certain roads. Kina Agui
Hurlingham,
Skodek,
Agui
Ngong Road,
Skodek.
Nini. They become okay. Hey, we are tukokazi.
Yeah, yeah,
You
I
know.
know.
So it's laws of economics, unfortunately.
All right, Ruth, tell us what people are saying on the comments.
Let's do this. I think we start with Stephen JJ. Hi Stephen. Tuko ndani ni nice convo, tujadiliane. Kweli mewafanyia nini sasa? What happened there? Okay. Nduku says, I'm not being biased, but the millions that are using organizing to pray for Kenyan's economy baffles me 100%. WhatsApp group nimeshuka kama zote. I feel bad, but manze Micah here on the show alisema he looked at his bank statement akashtuka. Maybe I checked M-Pesa statement. That 20 to 30 bucks every weekend to support friends and family. Now I ask the question, who will help me if God forbid I lose my job? Illness.
Where?
That's exactly
Why-
what
that's
we're
a-
talking
Now why are
about
you
that.
asking? Those are hard questions.
No, I mean, this actually need to ask yourself, right? You literally need to ask yourself those questions. Lewis says, bread was 50 shillings in 2017, but they reduced it from 500 grams to 400 grams so as to maintain the price, and many have not noticed the weight reduction. That is part of inflation, by the way.
Called shrinkflation.
Shrinkflation,
Yeah.
yes. That's that. I was
But
looking
that
for the
actually
word for
happened,
that.
even happened during
It did.
COVID,
Yes.
where,
It
you know,
did.
you moved from 12-inch plates to 9-inch plates, you know,
Yeah.
at restaurants,
Yeah.
but you're still paying the same price.
Unakula
For,
nusu
you know,
mkate lakini
yeah.
ushibi vile ulikuwa ukishiba zamani.
Si nusu
Yeah.
mkate anymore.
Yeah,
You
it's
know,
not nusu mkate, ni quarter. Yeah, but iko na shape ya nusu
Iko na
mkate.
shape ya nusu mkate. That's
Yeah.
the sad part. Then Bandio is like, what's going on? Slay's responding
Unajua
to
kwanza
Kenyan.
Tanzania, sorry to interrupt you, I think mambo ya nusu mkate ni Kenya. I don't think Bandio is laughing because I don't think Tanzania wako na kitu kama nusu
Sijai
mkate
kusikia lakini.
ama kununua hii sigara moja hii like
You don't
Ya
know that?
packet.
no wao ni mkate full. Hiyo mambo ya nusu
Mkate full ni
mkate
nini?
eh?
So it's a whole,
Oh,
It's
they
a
are-
whole
they're
loaf,
whole-
yeah.
it's a loaf.
Yeah, it's a
Okay.
whole loaf. Hiyo
Okay.
mambo ya nusu mkate
Yeah.
hiyo ni Kenya.
It's a Kenyan
Kadogo economy. That's a
It's a-
Kenyan thing.
Kadogo economy, you
Na-
buy even slices.
Na ukienda ghetto
Yeah.
unaweza buy hata
unanunua
quarter.
slice.
I know.
You
Unaweza
buy
nunua hata
slices.
kijiko ya
yes,
Blue Band.
kijiko ya nini, ya sukari, nini. So based
Yes.
upon what you...
Bandio.
Bandio, wacha kucheka
Hiyo ni
bana. I'm
reality.
telling you,
Hiyo
it
ni
is
reality.
actual
Yeah.
reality.
Yes, this is
This
Yeah,
real.
but I think in TZ some places now they do. Hii ya kununua sigara tumefanya sana.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
sigara
Okay.
moja moja.
Okay.
But now depends. This is not Dar es Salaam unayokwenda kuvisit.
Okay.
Ile
But
ni ile Dar es Salaam ya
Ile ndani.
kule ndani.
kule
Okay.
ndani.
Kule Mbagala.
Mbagala.
Okay.
Okay.
Lakini hakuna nusu mkate.
Wapo sasa hivi. Unanunua mpaka slices.
Okay, mna catch up sasa.
Tuna catch up.
Must be some Kenyan
Economy
businessmen.
inapiga
That's a
pote.
Kenyan
Must be some
business
Kenyan
person.
businessmen who went and set up
That's
shop.
like,
Yes.
That's a
need to
savvy
do
Kenyan
that.
businessman.
And came with the nini.
Probably
the
one Mike's
scoop.
cousin.
Yeah, it must be.
Most
Okay,
likely.
can I finish
A guy
this
of
statements,
Kangemi.
please?
Okay, all right.
Can I finish this comment?
Sorry.
Yeah.
Akinyi responds to Slay, kitu kama hiyo sasa ni kukula stock. I don't know what we're talking about over there.
Ujui kukula stock.
Yani-
Hata tutakueleza kukula stock.
Yani wako na anasa na Kenya hii mpya ni Heaven Scholars. Oh my word. Nduku. DJ Tucha, that's true. Ali Badawy porn in Kenya is still at all-time high, especially on social media.
Yep.
Nduku says Kwanzaa TikTok. And you know that's why I've not really bought into TikTok,
That
honestly.
news according to TikTok.
I know.
Actually,
TikTok.
Telegram, Pierre.
Telegram for
Telegram.
study.
Telegram was
Security.
Sodom and Gomorrah.
Yes.
Sasa
Yeah.
Telegram, you have to have the phone to watch. Kuna watu wengine wana iPhone wezi ingia.
Ooh, is OneMic on?
I-
I want
OneMic.
mic.
No.
Yeah, one mic yupo anazungumzia
Sasa-
They say
sigara.
single cigarettes are called Lucy's. I didn't even know that.
Yeah, yes.
Okay.
Single brownies.
Okay.
Oh, interesting. Then Slay says, Vile Humphrey ayuko hapa is not here to defend himself.
He can't defend himself on that. He knows,
Well,
like...
See,
well,
anajua.
Humphrey, if you're on, please
Yeah.
defend yourself.
He knows his cousins
I'm
are
trying
huko
to defend
Tanzania.
you.
See, we know he's
Yeah.
got cousins.
Ah,
Kwanza
okay.
wale watu wa Kangemi. Si unajua ile bridge ya Kangemi onge mpale.
Absolutely.
So unawaona vile washafunga bridge.
Wako
Huwezi
wengi
ingia.
sana, wezi ingia.
Yeah.
Na Washeke anasema
We
in
know them.
rural Kenya, shop sell mafuta ya kupika, ya kupima.
Yeah.
Okay.
Seen that.
All right. So there's this talk of Manderano, and there's a question where people ask, will Manderano help? Let's listen to what Slay
First
said
is
about Manderano, because kuna hiyo issue. Let's see if we have that clip, and then also her take on the future.
To
Bandio.
be honest, I don't know if Mandamano will help. I feel like we've had so many Mandamanos, and sometimes it brings about change. Sometimes it's just, noise. But let's watch this space and see what happens.
Okay. Manderano, Ruth, do you think, real quick, does it help or not?
Someone says protest is a language of the unheard. You know?
Okay.
Must be a poet.
I think I'm the person who says if you're not heard speaking the language, somebody's gonna hear you.
Okay.
Right?
Protest.
Protest is one of them.
Mm-hmm.
There are different forms of protest, right? I think my biggest concern with protests is when they turn violent.
Yeah.
But like I think that is almost like always a part of protest,
Yeah.
right? To make them like mean something always like it is almost like an ultimate
Yeah.
thing that has to happen. That is my biggest concern, right? I think
So is it the violence or the loss of lives to you?
both, right? Both. But like it's almost like for protests to actually to matter, those things kind of tend to go hand in hand, unfortunately. That's my observation with when people have responded to a protest that has happened, right? But I do 100% believe people need to be heard. I just hope that then there's no loss of life.
Okay. All right. That's fair enough.
And I hope that they don't go looting and causing other fellow Kenyans. Because like your anger is not towards your fellow Kenyans owning a business, kwa barabara, whatever. Your anger is towards the government, right? So like rightfully so, do that, like express yourself to the government. But then, I mean, don't then harm someone else's daily bread.
Wow.
I don't know how we can balance that.
Yeah, that's a tough balance. But there's this argument, Omosh, maybe you can chime in on this. There's this argument of Mandamano doesn't help. There's a whole group of people who feel that way, that this is just a waste of time. We are just doing this for a bunch of selfish people
For likes.
who have their own selfish interests. Like this Mandamano is just a waste of time. It's just gonna hurt businesses, and nothing will come out of it. What's your take on that?
My take on it is that if anybody looks at the history of Kenya and go back to University of Nairobi students who would normally, for lack of a better word, other than from back in the day, and I may be, what's the right word? I am showing my age kidogo. The folks who
We see
the
it.
folks
Don't
who were
worry.
in opposition
Mhm.
against the government traditionally in some way, form or shape were academicians. And a lot of them, you'd find they were guys like
Willie Mutunga.
Yes, them. Then you had the student leaders, Kino Orengo. Then you had guys like
Miguna.
What's his name? Anyona.
Anyona, yes.
You had a lot of those professors.
Yeah.
You know, and for lack, I think for today's generation to understand, those were the so-called woke folks.
Okay.
At the time.
At that time.
Don't use walk.
No, I'm just saying for today's generation
Okay.
That's what
to
they
get what
understand.
that's
Yeah.
what they understand.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Gen Z.
Yeah, and that's why I'm saying
They were the Dr.
they were the
Umars
ones
of the day.
So, and a lot of them were professors or somehow affiliated with the
Academia.
higher academia or higher education and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
So every time when there was something opposition related, it was always the students who came out and rioted. We didn't call them demonstrations then, we called them riots.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And they would go around University of Nairobi area, Hapo, Museum Hill, Hapo, making noise, Uhuru Highway, you know, flipping cars, anything they found in their path, and you knew, don't be in the path of the university students.
Yeah.
But whatever it is that they were rioting about,
Agitating for.
yes, there was always at some point some sort of conversation occurred.
Okay.
And whatever issues they had were normally resolved
Okay.
after this happened. It's unfortunate that they had to go that direction,
Yeah.
but it seems like that's what always seemed to happen. So
yeah.
using that type of history and then coming forward to what's now being called Manderano,
Yeah.
because then you're going back to Saba Nini
Yes.
Nini and all of that, where you rally people together, and Uhuru Park when Wangari Maathai was doing it, that's when people were like, oh my God, you mean that you can actually do this?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And the whole point of Manderano is to get the listening ear, because we have tried to have a conversation with you, and either
You're not
you're not giving us an audience, or you're not listening. It's there in the papers, and you've shrugged us off and said, you guys are just folks who have a different agenda and you want to sit in State House. But now you're at the point where you realize, hey, it's gotten to the point where everybody is in suffering stage,
Yeah.
including the so-called, I guess, hustlers or whatever you want to call them.
Yes.
So I think, in my opinion, that Manderano is actually going to work. How exactly it's done, I kind of agree with what Ruth is saying. It's that fine line. Where is that fine line? The fine line is what's really tough. But unfortunately, there's gonna be what we call casualties of war before folks are gonna be heard. And maybe it's going to take losing of lives and certain things being
Unfortunately, it
done,
always does.
so that outside folks can come in and actually do that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
So back to you, Ali.
Okay. We regarding Manderano, like real quick, because this conversation seems to be resonating with a lot of people. I think regarding Manderano, we just need also to be more creative, because I know people are tired of the normal Manderano. We see political rally, people go to the streets, a few rocks thrown here and there, tear gas. There's a book, I can't remember the name of the author and the name of the book, but it talks about 198 ways different of protest. And one of the reasons why the civil rights protests were very successful, like in the 60s, was because they used a lot of different means. There are those ones that they normally like showing you on TV, but they were boycotting buses.
Yeah.
They were boycotting,
all sorts of different
they were boycotting products.
Yes.
They would deliberately go to a place that's white only.
Yeah.
So there's different ways, which I think if we diversify the protest portfolio, it's gonna start becoming more effective. Someone like Boniface Mwangi, people in the arts get very creative.
Yeah.
Remember, like when he brought the pigs out, and that name and pigs stuck until today. That's how impactful, like those kind of creative protests are, where they remind you of something, and they stick in your head. Or like when they were going at night and drawing art, like in the streets, trying to send a message, and then in the morning mkiamka mnakuta iko hapo tayari, picha inapigwa and it's spread all over social media.
It would have to be a very coordinated coordinated. Like
Yes.
it has, like every sector has to do their own form of protest. You know, like I'm gonna say this one. I don't know whether this would apply to Kenya, but I know teachers here when they want to protest something, they call in sick the following day.
Yeah.
All of
organizing.
that, you know, very organized. And this is the
Organizing.
union telling them call in sick, right? Because like you're not gonna penalize somebody for calling sick. It is in the contract that you can
Yeah.
call in sick, right?
Correct, yeah.
So like people have to find
Of course.
something.
Paralyze the system.
You paralyze the system. Then people are like, okay, we need to listen to you. So we
Yeah.
need to find that balance that every sector has its own way of protest, right? That gets people's attention. I also will say that all public spectre of like protest, like walking towards something, whatever that is also important. The only thing I'm afraid of, like, it's not necessary to lose lives over this one.
Yeah.
Although people tend to listen to people when that happens. But I
Yes.
think if it's just a match,
Yeah, because
only,
it has to be serious.
It
And
has to be serious,
unfortunately,
yeah.
serious for us is death.
Yes.
and it's around the world that happens,
You know,
by
it's,
the way.
it's so
you know?
unfortunate.
It's so unfortunate. But I think if you only have the mass action, you know, people just, you know, walking, marching, but coordination of other forms of protest from different sectors, I think
Yes.
that can work. But it needs organization. But I really don't think we have that much organization in
How are you
Kenya.
going to organize people like that? And then, you know, remember, watu hawajakula. People are hungry.
There's that.
People are this.
There's that.
I mean, you're at the point where you're like, okay, I can't anymore. School fees doing an igonga. So I don't know what. And then now we have with this new curriculum, it's not even, there's even more added things. You're buying new uniform in the same school.
I
You know,
think-
it's a whole
Let's not talk about that.
I also think part of the
That's
problem.
painful.
I think also part of the problem is that you know, we sometimes blame these wazes for doing whatever they're doing, but we should always ask ourselves, what have we done? You know, like if we don't like what the wazes are doing, we have to figure out a way of how to organize ourselves. I mean, we organize ourselves in doing so many different things. We organize ourselves for sherehe.
Yeah.
We organize
Yes.
ourselves for all kinds of shenanigans. But when it comes to organizing politically, me, in fact, sometimes, you know, like I'll try to bring up a conversation in a social setup, then mtu atanikanyagie vyali mazee usilete hapa conversations za siasa. And you see, that's unfortunately why the wazes are doing what they're doing, because sasa sisi we've decided that this is not going to be a socially acceptable.
Ali, we've not decided. We've been taught.
We've been
We need
conditioned.
to unlearn that.
We need to unlearn
We need
that.
to unlearn
Yes.
that.
Mhm.
You know, I think they've created a system that they can work whatever way they want,
Yeah.
because they made sure that it's socially unacceptable for
Yes.
you to like talk about these things, right?
Exactly.
So like it's like we have freedom to talk about things, like you know, in politics tunakula hata kutusumua, you know, don't
I
bring
know,
politics
yeah.
on the table.
And it's been made kind of cool of I don't do politics.
That is
It's kind of like a
ridiculous.
badge of honor.
I know. That is so ridiculous, because I'll tell you, we all breathe and eat politics one way or another. Your food is politics based. Let's start with that.
So yeah. So because we're running out of time, we're gonna, you know, like
We have
play.
comments.
Yeah, we're gonna play 2 clips. We're gonna read the comments. We're gonna play 2 clips for Slay. She's asking, you know, like, or rather, she's talking about whether diaspora should care, and she's also talking about the future. You know, like what's the future? You know, I mean, what to expect. So let's play those clips real quick, Bandio.
We should care because Kenya is home. A lot of us, or some of us, would want to retire back home. We send money home. People have invested back home. So Kenya is our business.
Okay, and then there's the other one where she's talking about the future. Please play that one.
I don't know where we're headed, to be honest. I kind of am just waiting to see what happens and hope that, you know, down the road, you know, there'll be, I guess, tangible changes, you know, for the common mwananchi. But I sincerely feel like change starts with how we vote. If we keep voting based off of, you know, the patterns that we have been before, I feel like we're just going to keep coming back to this same spot where we are constantly having to evaluate the, you know, the current government and talk about, oh, they said this during campaign and this is not being done. So I feel like it starts at voting. If we want our future as Kenyans to change, let's start at the ballot box.
Okay, ballot box issues.
Wow.
We've talked about that for a very long time on the OneMic show. We tried to mobilize people.
Yeah.
Tulitukanwa, and we were told, some people were saying they want ballot boxes in their bedrooms.
Even Baba told us off. He was like, "We are jokers."
Yeah, to me, I was very shocked. When the reality came,
was no when DC
when the reality came, I was really shocked.
What shocked you?
What shocked
the number
me was I had always been optimistic that when this thing is brought to our doorstep,
once opportunity was given,
yes, people are gonna rush
in numbers to
like
go
fools.
register.
Once the
Here,
voting is
Yes.
brought into our doorstep.
In the US?
In the
Yes.
US.
Can I say something
Yes,
about
you
that?
can.
Sure.
Of course you
Because
can.
Ali, I can speak for myself, and you can attest to this. I am engaged. Their communication was horrible. By the time I'm learning they're here, I didn't even know. I was in California when you're telling me it's ending today. I'm like, I didn't even know they were here. So can you imagine if Ruth is so engaged with the diaspora and the embassy, and I did not hear that information? What about people around the country?
You should have started going to a Kenyan church.
No, I can understand. In
I'd
your
go to a
personal
Kenyan
situation,
church.
They say
your
the
personal
It's not
situation,
personal.
I can understand.
It's not personal.
No,
Ali.
wait a second.
It's so
the
not
reason,
personal.
The reason
No,
why
it's
the
personal.
reason why
It's
it's
just-
personal.
it is.
I want you to understand why
it
it's
is
personal.
though personal.
Because I know, DMV for example, hii ni kama kijiji. Like
Mbona kuniambia?
hii ni kama hiyo tuongea after
No,
show.
Like,
You
no,
don't get after show.
because you're fellow Kenyan, you should tell me, Ruth, this is happening.
Hiyo tuongea
Mbona
after show.
kuniambia in
But
good
now,
time?
but here's the thing. There are so many people I know. I was posting this on social media, and of course,
And we talked about it on the show.
and
we
and-
even brought
yeah,
the people
you
here.
skipped the
a week.
shows.
We brought
A
the
week
folks.
when?
It was a week into.
No,
a week into, and there was another week
forget
left.
about a week into. Even before that registration came, before we knew the dates,
Yeah.
we were already talking about it in October, in
Yeah,
November.
yeah,
well,
but-
before we knew the dates.
But then
we were talking about it.
That's true. But what I'm trying to say though is that at that point, once they started the process,
Yeah.
we actually had folks here who came on the show within a week, and they still had another week to go for registration.
But almost.
Here?
But here's the issue.
Yes, we brought
Yes.
we brought
did.
the person here while
we did.
while it was still on
For
registration.
what? For registration.
For registration,
Not
yes.
for voting.
No, not for voting.
for registration, because you couldn't
Joyce
vote.
Ekwam.
You couldn't vote if you were not
IBC.
registered.
No,
you
you
know,
couldn't.
you know the good thing about this, Ruth? Iko receipts. But let me
that's
say
fine.
something. Give me a chance.
If
Give me a
there
chance.
is,
Let me
that's
say
fine.
something. Let me say something, Ruth.
Yes, Ali.
The reason why it's personal
Yeah.
is because
Yeah.
we know people, at least here in the DMV, people, I think it's 300 and something people that registered. I can tell you, I personally know more than 300 people who did not register. So we have people.
Why did they not register?
Just because they just never did.
I think
they knew
it
about
was-
it. They knew about it. They knew the dates.
Apathy.
But they just did not show up. And here I'm talking about people who are talking, complaining. I have a list of names. I'm
Okay.
just not going to reveal them on the show.
That's fine. You shouldn't do that.
But there was a whole host of people.
You're an exception.
So-
You really are an
yes,
exception.
So speak for yourself.
No, you really
But
are
there's so
an
many
exception.
people
But there's a lot
who
of
live
people
in DC
who even told us
who
we
work-
will not even come.
Yes, who live in DC.
I'm telling you straight
who,
up.
Who work in DC, who know that there was
Couldn't be
registration
bothered.
going on,
Couldn't be
and they
bothered.
did not go.
Good.
They didn't
So
care.
We need to know why about them. But
I
can
think-
I say,
I think
can I
it's
say something?
voter apathy, really.
There was this time on
It's
there was a
just voter
ton of
apathy.
voter
So these same
apathy.
people were asking for an opportunity
can
after
we-
that deadline closed.
Can we move this conversation? Because this was the first time diaspora was voting here. And let's be very honest, it will not have swayed that much of the election back home.
Now that's
Well-
that's a wrong way to approach it. That's a wrong way to approach it.
For now,
Omosh
I'm
Ngoja. That's a wrong way to approach it.
Okay,
You know
fine.
why?
Okay.
You know what?
I
You know.
concede to that.
uh,
Can we
uh,
talk-
no, real quick. No.
Okay.
You brought it up. Let's
Alright.
talk about it.
Sure.
It's a wrong way to approach it
Why?
because in the 50+1, when you look at the margins, in the 50% plus one, it takes less than actually in the 2013 election, I think the margin that the election the winner crossed over the 50% margin was less than 8,000 votes. It was less than 8,000 votes, which tells you that one constituency can affect. Can we get 10,000 people? Do we have 10,000 people
We
to
do have
register in the diaspora?
10,000.
We have way more than 10,000
Yeah.
people. So I think we also, because I think that was a narrative that was also spread a lot by some people that it's not going to make a difference. It's not going to make a difference. I think we need to get away from that because that encourages the lukewarm people to say that unless hii kitu iletwe kwa bedroom yangu, mimi sipandi metro kwenda DC. Which is what happened in the DMV.
We saw
I'm not talking about people who are in California or people who are in other places.
And they didn't make it
Yeah.
fair for folks who were not close to the registration points,
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
right?
No, and have you tried?
And if, let's say, you're in California,
Yeah.
you could have still gotten registered in California.
I
and-
couldn't. Sorry.
You could have registered in California,
Yes.
and then
in LA.
and then moved your vote, your polling station to
DC.
DC.
Is that?
The problem
Yes.
though,
Yeah.
the problem though there was a little funny loophole, because if you didn't do it within a certain time frame,
Yeah.
you got locked out because you're in the diaspora. So they were not being fair with how they were allocating some of those deadlines, because they were not using the same deadlines that they were using in Kenya, and more so because all of these activities had to be done by IBC officers or
Okay.
people who are working for the
Not a
Nini.
problem.
All right.
So, but anyway, this is something that I think we actually need to get somebody from IEBC, whenever they get their act together, to come on board and talk to us about what their plan is for the diaspora moving forward. Now that we know, come more like a lessons learned.
Okay.
You know.
All right. Now let's read some comments of what people are saying
Before
before
you
we go
read
to
the comments, can
yeah.
I say something? We really do need. This is my take about Kenyan elections, right? We are still not at. I think this is the first time we kind of moved close to issue-based voting.
Correct.
We're still not there yet.
No, we're not.
I just wanted to say that.
We're definitely not.
We're
there.
still not there yet.
But we're getting there.
We're getting there.
We're getting
I'm gonna
there.
give us grace
Yes.
on that. We're getting there, but we're still not at issue-based voting. I'm not saying that everybody, like even here, I don't think everybody is issue-based voting. Is more like you align your values with your issues with the party that you like.
Yeah.
So that I don't even know whether we can call that issue-based. I mean, that's like you find an alignment. I think we can really get into issue-based voting in Kenya, but then again, we're not there yet.
Okay.
I need to kind of put that out there.
All right. Let's
Okay.
go to the comments before we listen to what Washeke said.
Okay, so let me. Well, we have a lot. Oh my god! Okay,
Yeah,
give me a second.
just sample a few of them. We can't read all of them.
I just okay.
Yeah, because the comments are coming in thick and fast, and we are happy that you're participating.
We appreciate you guys.
Which shows that there's resonance with what we are talking about.
You want to start with
Yeah.
Slay or Duo, where she's talking about social media. That's been a tool.
Okay.
Oh wow. I was more like Stephen JJ. One.
Okay, that's
Sile
fine.
was saying, thank you, Ruth. You've put my words you put words to my thoughts when I was talking about the Manderano thing. Mimi, I'm always for Manderano. This is Stephen. I believe Manderano will get the voice of the unheard heard. Sauti za wanyonge pia isikike. Hakuna mtu anataka violence, honestly. By all means, people should express themselves. I would too, and I do where possible. The violent events is what makes protests, airy. They call them dissidents. Manderano won't work, DJ Tucha. Raila just wants to strong arm himself into the government like he did last time.
And that's a personal belief.
That's his nene. We're not saying that's what Raila thinks. That's what people believe out here. The OneMic show, is that?
That's Black Pearl. I think that's this comment under your name. Tutakuonyesha how to update that.
I think she sent a voice note.
Ama will remove you as an admin. Kama your tech
But
challenge.
she did say her Black Pearl 2 cents.
Yeah. The Manderano will work only if something that directly works to
Strangle.
strangle the government operations or economic will work. Slay, please kumbuka hiyo kitabu Ali Badawy. I would like to read.
That's
to
a
read
book,
it.
The 198 Different Ways of Protesting. I'll find the book.
Please put in the
I'll share.
comment. Yeah. Like the protests in France, a unified strike by everyone that always brings change. That is true. Coordinated strike in every sector. Social media has been a tool to look at how DCI went to investigate the unfortunate death. The social media uproar led to action. Sambaza podcast is here. Stephen Batty. I don't know that. DJ, optimistic thinking is good, but remember we're talking about Kenya. Manderano is a total waste of people's time. Black Pearl, again, for example, if we diasporans decided to remit nothing until certain change are made, since we are responsible for a good chunk of nation building, we should pick next week to start with. We cannot do that because our families will go without
Yes,
food,
yeah.
unfortunately.
You
and I
can
d-
sneak.
But what we can
a
do,
loose, you
what-
sneak a loose.
but you know what we can do
table.
real quick? We can stop investing in Airbnbs. But anyway, move on.
that.
Yeah, we
yeah.
can stop
Sasa
in
now with like Slay who was crying about her Airbnb. How do we help her?
That, but
Yeah.
like I do know we've talked about not sending remittances, but
Yeah,
it's so hard
that's
when
difficult.
your family is depending on that for food.
Yeah.
Washeke says, good point, Slay. Okay. Unduku, I don't know if it's true. Kalonzo is already out of the country. Wanduli atuezani na maandamano watu naogopa Mungu. I don't know what that means. Okay, Steven, why are you laughing? Remember after the annulled elections, Raila said no voting. Jubilee ndio alipiga kura. That's a form of protest as well. If Mandamano doesn't work, no voting pia. 2027, we will go out and vote. Kama mambo hayata badilika. You have to vote. Goodness, that is not the place. That's not the place. That's not the place to. That's not the place to protest. Let me say that. That's not the place to protest. Steven, a lot of people do not believe in the Kenyan voting system. If the Kenyan voting system worked, a lot of people would show up and vote kama ile ya Kibaki tosha.
No,
Know what?
actually, Kenya voter turnout is usually very high. This is one
This
thing
time
that
round
people,
it was low though.
it's been lower than it's been before. But when you compare regionally,
Yeah,
when you look at the
Well,
results of the Nigerian election,
yeah.
and you're seeing one candidate got 6 million, another one got 6, and another one got 6 in a country of 215 million people. In Kenya, we are only 15 million, and we were seeing candidates,
86%.
getting 7, 8 million
2013 it was
votes.
86% participation.
Yeah,
Just
so
FYI.
yeah, so
Washeke, we have extended this lack of civil participation to local elections in the US. Oh my word, don't get me started on that one. Yes. And we need to stop. We need to get involved beyond presidential elections. Please vote for your school boards. That's where your kids go to school.
yeah.
That's where things happen. Washeke,
that's where Alex Jones folks are taking over. For those people
by
who don't
the
go and
way,
vote. Yeah.
Democrat, if you're a Democrat, like, don't even bother the national politics, honestly. Really worry about local politics. Washeke, voting in Kenya is more of tumbo politics, mtu wetu syndrome, unfortunately. That's true.
I agree.
Yeah, then Washeke
And
is
that's
agreeing
said
with
by
that.
a Kenyan.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, like we are really running out of time. I want to remind the listeners that you're tuned in to the OneMic show, and I'm your co-host and producer, Ali Badawy. We are talking about the state of Kenya's economy under President Ruto's regime. Azimio leader Raila Odinga has called for mass protests on Monday, March the 20th, and we are sampling comments from Kenyans in the diaspora, so stay tuned for more of that. Now, later in the social segment, we'll be talking about a 28-year-old Kenyan who was smothered to death by 7 police deputies at a mental health facility in the state of Virginia. So keep it locked for that.
What's that phone number?
Yes, the number to call is 202-683-4570. Press *5 to speak. For those who have comments to make, I think Micah is joining us. I'm not sure if he's ready yet. But we also have Washeke, who also made a quick comment. So producer, I don't know whether unataka twende kwa Mika kwanza ama kama twende kwa Washeke. Aya, twende kwa Washeke alafu tutamsikiza Mika. Let's hear what Washeke had to say.
Hey Ali, many of us have family back at home and we're also heavily invested. So whatever is currently happening is affecting us directly. And personally, these are my concerns. Number one, Christian rhetoric by the president and those in power. It's very dangerous. Currently, there's a perception of other religions being sidelined by those that are supposed to serve them. And we all know this is a recipe for disaster. The president should not be seen to be favoring one religion. 2 is corruption. I do not believe we've ever experienced the levels of corruption we're seeing now or we've seen in the last 10 years, public coffers are being plundered left, right, and center. And this goes to my next point, high levels of debt. The corruption that we're seeing is contributing to the high levels of debt because we are borrowing money for projects, economic activity, but this money ends up in the pockets of few individuals in power. And most of this debt is in foreign currency, making servicing it extremely expensive. And this is reducing the resources available for public projects or even economic stimulation. The tax regime in Kenya is not favorable to the common wananchi or even for business interests. You know, we have very high taxation, and we don't even see what those taxes are doing for our country. I understand that our country runs by taxes, but what we need is an efficient way to not only collect that taxes, but transparency and accountability on how that money collected from citizens is being used to benefit them. We don't have that. We don't have accountability, and we know taxes, money collected from taxation is being misused, and Kenya has one of the highest taxes in the world. Next concern is definitely the weakening of the shilling. In the past few months, we've seen that it's downward spiral, and with Kenya, having high levels of debt in foreign currency, this is going to be a pain point. Not to mention, we run a trade deficit. We import more than export, so this is it's going to cause pain. We're going to spend more money on those goods that we're importing, which translates to the mwananchi having to pay more for those. And for a lot of diasporans that have investments in Kenya, when we invest in Kenya, we are hoping that those investments are not they're not only for our retirement, but also going to fund some of our activities where we live, and it makes it extremely hard if the shilling is weak. Na kwa hayo machache, yoyote anataka kunipigia simu, nambari yangu ni 009815.
Haya, hiyo namba mimi nimejaribu
fake.
kuipiga
It's fake.
na ni fake, si kama ile
It's a
yangu ya
zip code.
ukweli.
Yako sio kweli.
Sasa na
Ali yako sio kweli. It's
One
missing
800
one
Masai.
digit. It's missing one digit.
Hapana, hiyo namba iko sawa.
It's missing one
Me, I think the
digit.
way your phone is set up.
Hakulipia in
No.
full.
Yeah.
Mteule is 6 letters.
Well, I think the way
So
your phone
six-
is set up. I think the way your
Mteule
phone is
6
set
letters,
up.
not 7.
MTE.
Those who know, they know.
Maybe ni mteule.
Those who know, they know.
Yeah. It's a
He's
E.
never say
Yeah.
anything about that.
It's
Mteule
a E. It's a E.
Mteule is 6 letters, 6 digits.
Mbona mquestion ya washeke mna question
I'm not
yangu.
questioning Washeke.
Aya, twende.
Aya, sawa,
Kuna-
sawa.
Kuna
Now-
bati, kuna alt.
Yeah, now Washeke talked about something very important, like in her comment.
Yeah.
And that's she went technical. She talked about the forex rates,
Yeah.
and how it's impacting, everyday people, and the fact that the country has a lot of debt that's denominated in foreign currency,
Yeah.
which is a double whammy because the interest rate is high,
Yeah.
and then it fluctuates with when they took the debt, the dollar was less than 100 bob. It might have been like 90 bob. Right now, here's an interesting thing. There's the rate that central bank is giving, this rate that you're seeing on Wave and other apps for sending money.
Yeah.
But there's
The market
what's
rates.
the market rate in the streets.
Yeah.
Apple.
I was so shocked. My mother was telling me that right now, like in Kenya, if you have dollars, you can easily get 140 shillings for each
Correct.
dollar that you have.
Correct.
And I was shocked And I was like, Apana, I was arguing with her. Apana, angalia rate, no
There's a
ECBK.
shortage of
Yeah.
dollars in Kenya.
There is.
It's a huge shortage
There
of
is.
dollars in
Make
Kenya.
it online.
It's been since DEC. Kwanza DEC ilikuwa mbaya.
But this is the
If you
first
think
time.
if it's bad now,
So-
DEC
No,
was
but this is the
worse.
first
So
time we're seeing
it's-
a discrepancy between
Yeah.
what CBK
I know.
is saying.
There must be
and
a
what,
reason. I have not researched what that reason is. There must be a reason why they're doing that. But like the shortage of dollars in Kenya is severe. It's bad. You know,
Okay.
and I mean, it's just gonna wreck. You know,
I think what's happening,
stuff.
I think is an artificial, because I've never
It is
seen.
artificial.
Because I was arguing with my mom, and my mom is telling me, "Oh,
Atuna
Nanambia
is saying
nini."
it's 142 today.
Angalia,
Yes.
it's even gone up from the last time I
Waze is
spoke to my mom.
128. 'Cause I
The
sent
last time
money
I spoke to
today.
my mom was yesterday.
Yeah.
And you know me, I was trying to argue with my mom using logic.
boss.
Namwambia ati angalia ndo hii
Your
rate.
logic yako,
Ndo
throw
hii
it
rate.
out.
Saa my mom was asking me, wewe ndio uko hapa ama
Yeah,
ni
no.
mimi?
She's
Ananiambia,
right.
like, you go to a
She's
bureau.
right.
She knows
She's
that.
It's a-
right.
and I was like, and I confirmed that.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
She's very
and,
right.
and like you see, someone here is telling us, here Tuna is saying it's
Yeah.
142, and it might even get to 150 before, you know, like before the end of April. You know, who knows?
I did say, someone did tell me before the end of the first quarter of the year,
Yeah.
the shilling will be 150.
Yes, and that's very dangerous.
Yeah.
And you know, I think what's happening is that the market has been distorted now, because even people who don't need dollars are buying dollars to protect their money, because they feel like the Kenya shilling is losing value. So you have a whole host of people who are just
That
going
take
to
dollars.
buy dollars.
And
Dollars
they're
are
hoarding.
so
They're hoarding them, yes.
dollars are so valuable.
Yeah, they're
you know, like,
precious.
yeah, if you go with dollars, if you when him to show off my $100 bills, be very careful. You know, those things are very high
You-
value right now.
Target. Gonna be a target.
And you'll become a
I,
target.
funnily enough, I always carried money as emergency, but I always come back with it. I never change it.
Yes, you know,
And
like
this is one of those times when I was like, really, I think I should have changed this money, because obviously the rate that I was getting when I was waiving myself versus
Yeah.
what I would have got if I had gone
Shopping with
black,
it.
if I had gone black market to change.
yeah.
If in Kisumu I changed, Ali, I found Watuenyu.
Of course.
Watuwaisili.
Of course.
There's a place called
Asia Tuwezi kosa.
there's a Garissa Lodge.
And they have the best rates.
in Ozumo.
Business legit.
Boss, I was just told
business legit.
it was a holiday. Kwanza, I was told, nenda tukule
Yeah.
kwa nani. Then when you go to a shop. Then you're taken from that shop to another shop.
Yes.
Then the guy comes and he walks to you.
Business legit.
Then is when he's like,
Yeah.
how much do you want to change?
Yeah. Yeah, we're building the
I
economy.
was like, what?
Eh?
Yes.
Business legit. Now we have our sports anchor Micah Och finally on the phone. Amekuwa akitusikiza. Let's hear what he has to say. Yeye pia alikuwa Kenya December. Alikuwa anapiga sherehe huko, alikuwa anajenga economy. Let's hear what he thinks about this dollar issue and just what's going on with the Kenyan economy. Micah, twende kazi.
Can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Yes, we can hear you, Mika.
All right. We're going to, because I don't sound like that. Ladies and gentlemen, how are you?
Hi,
Sorry,
Mika.
I'm late. There's one thing I've heard you guys saying. The dollar shortage is not artificial. The dollar shortage is an issue that's affecting the whole world. It's being caused by, first of all, remember there was an reduce in trade over the COVID period in 2020. Money was not flowing as it was supposed to flow. Then in 2021, we had a supply chain shortage, which means that even those countries which were importing raw materials and buying by dollar and manufacturing them, by the time they have to sell them, the market was not moving the way it's supposed to move. And then now comes in with also the instability of the world economy. You will understand why the US will not be allowing a lot of dollar to flow as it's supposed to. And ule president wenu mwenye aliprint pesa but hajakutengeneza economy, we also it needed for the country to stem the amount of dollar that's flowing, so that they had to decommission some currency so that economy is tank. If you just Google countries that have a shortage of dollar, you'll see they're in the hundreds.
Wow.
A lot of them are in the hundreds because of the shortage of the dollar. So it's not something that's being created in Kenya. Now, the issue that is with Kenya is that the dollar is a trading currency when you trade with foreigners, right? The issue with Kenya also is that as much as the dollar is the trading currency, we don't bring in much dollar as we are supposed to. We depend on diaspora remittance, we depend on tourism. Agriculture just started coming back because most of our products, remember, are banned about being sold. We do not have a source of foreign income. That is why you see your president is trying to tax people outside the country, because that tax will be brought in as dollar to bring in money into the country. So we have been an economy that has not been smart in how we get our foreign exchange. We can see countries like Rwanda investing in marketing their country and marketing their tourism, which right now they're expecting about 100 billion income just from the FIFA meeting that they had the other day. So that is all coming in dollars. So the economy is going to be good. When have you had Kenya has invested in a thing that is bringing that such kind of money?
Plus basketball.
Sisi ufikiria wash. Ukifikiria wash, ukishamaliza wash, tunafikiria gold. Ukishamaliza gold. Let's be honest. Our tourism is not as good as it was back in the day.
Definitely.
Our agriculture is not as good as it was back in the day. Tea and coffee, which we were selling at a prime back in the day, are things which have been taken by other countries. South American coffee is selling more than African coffee.
Yeah.
So that hinders us. So it's just poor governance that has led to this. And this shows you how a government, and then pia kitu tuumiza ni loans zenye tunachukua. So the dollar shortage is going to be there. And today, somebody actually exchanged the dollars for 155.
Wow. Okay.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So this is getting pretty scary. Asante sana Micah. Like a very good explanation on the issue about the dollar shortage, and another sector that also has been going down for a very long period of time is manufacturing. In Kenya, we used to manufacture a lot of things. There was a time, like when I was younger, when I would go to Kinabandio's country, Tanzania, you'd see a lot of Kenyan brands there. Like East African industries, Omo,
Raymond's.
Yeah, but now Tanzania wamejipanga. They're making those things for themselves. And I was listening to a former deputy speaker, Farama Alim, speak on Citizen TV, and he was talking about how in Namanga, now the goods that are coming into Kenya from Tanzania are more than the goods that are going from Kenya going into Tanzania, which is a good thing. It's a good thing for the whole region. Like I'm personally a big advocate for open borders in the region and everything, lakini kina bandio kuna vile wanatutizama kwa jicho la tatu, to make sure wakifungua gate tusiingie wote mzima. But
explain
glad,
that. Bandio.
No,
they have a bouncer who checks.
I know. I'm just saying. Explain that. Mbona mtupendi?
Si ati hawatupendi, ni vile si gate zikifunguliwa. Unajua Kenya pale kuna sherehe. Yaani gate ikifunguliwa hivi, hata kama ulikuwa hujaliko hiyo sherehe, wewe uko ndani. Unaingia huko ndani.
Yes.
Uko pale ndani, uko kwa booth ya DJ, uko pale kwa bar, uko kila pali. Mpaka uko kwa altar pale, kama kuna harusi, uko pale umeka front seat na uko umealikwa.
Can you give him a minute to say something?
Bandio.
No.
Eh?
No.
Why?
Amesema kila kitu. Yeah.
Why are you speaking for Bandio?
No,
he knows.
No, let him say. Let him
knows.
say. Maybe.
Nyeta tizalena hata mkipewa ride mnaanza kuhonk na on.
Sisi.
Kwa hiyo inabidi tuwe careful.
Unajua si ubaya wetu wa Kenya ni tukipatiwa chai kama vile Nonini anasema, tunaitisha na mkate na mayai. Yeah, chai haitoshi. Wewe ni mgeni umepatiwa chai, unauliza kwa mkate na mayai.
Unampa ride yenu anaanza kuhonk.
Yeah. So I think So I think you hapo ndo issue anaogopa but I think honestly if we have open borders in TZ where like for example, do you know that it's cheaper calling someone using your Safaricom line from the US than it is calling someone using your Safaricom line from Tanzania? I was shocked. Yes.
That 800 shillings a minute.
I was shocked.
Yeah. Who are you using?
It's
AT&T is cheaper.
No, it's very expensive.
It depends on what phone you are using.
No, if you're in Tanzania,
as well.
If you're in Tanzania,
oh, really?
Yes.
But if you're in Tanzania, it's very expensive to use
To call Kenya?
to call Kenya or to text.
Even to text.
Yes, it
Very
is very
expensive.
expensive. So those are the things that I think.
So they actually
need
buy
to
Kenyan
change.
lines
Yeah.
so they can communicate with Kenya, basically.
No, or you know, like you have to buy a Tanzanian line. And now in Tanzania, you have to register for your line. So you can't just go. It's not like the way it used to be where I could just go and buy a line while I'm there and then throw the SIM card when I go away. Now you have to register. You know, like you have to register to get the line and everything. So kuna vikwazo tumejiwekea.
Interesting.
Kuna vikwazo tumejiwekea, which if we remove those barriers, I think...
Is it Kenya or Tanzanian?
No, I think after we actually had the East African community,
Yeah.
and Kenya played a big part in the breakup of the East African community. I'm gonna blame the likes of Kinanjonjo. We played a very big part in the breakup of the East African community because for whatever reason during Kenyatta's time, and that's the time when Kenyatta alikuwa amekaribia kunyuri, alikuwa ameanza kuzeeka nini hivi Kinanjonjo, you know, like they overwhelmed him, and they broke up in 1977, and then we reunited back in 1999. Now, before we broke up, the European Union, which was still, you know, like very fresh and very new, were coming to East Africa for benchmarking. That's how advanced, you know, the union was. East African Airways, the rail was the same system. We had, you know, like water transportation. Right now, if you go to Tanzania, their water transportation system is more sophisticated, more advanced than Kenya's, because what happened when the union broke up, Kenyans because we had the airport, we confiscated all the planes to kabaki nazo, and then the water assets, a lot of them, you know, like remained in Tanzania. So you'll notice that the water transportation system, like even when you go, for example, to get the ferry from Dar es Salaam to Zanzibar, it is so advanced. I've never even seen a ferry like that even in the US.
Yeah, Kilimanjaro 7 is...
Yeah, Kilimanjaro. Man, it is so advanced. You think you're walking into the future.
Experience that.
Oh, yeah.
I got you.
Ali, another thing we need to also say that because that has caused Tanzania to pass it. That has caused countries like Manderano and the corruption. Let's not pretend. We had all this infrastructure. The port of Mombasa was a very busy port. It was busier than Dubai in 1995. The Dubai port is one of the biggest, is one of the busiest ports in that region right now. The ports that were available at that particular time was South Africa, Cape Town, and Kenya. Cape Town where is located, Kenya where is located is like in the middle of one. That is why the ports in Dubai, Bahrain do so well. It's because right now ships going there, I know they will get unloaded faster, they'll get the services done quickly, and they can continue with their journey where they're going. We lost that opportunity. While Tanzania were building their port, we were supposed to be the Lamu port. We politicked about building the Lamu port for years, and corruption about it, and fighting. Even other people saying they don't want to build the port because that port is going to benefit a few people and not everybody. And guess what? Tanzania built their port. They are working effectively. Kenya si tunapingana mpaka tunaanza kuargue tunataka kuweka mizigo wapi. Tunaweka mizigo Naivasha, tunaweka mizigo Nairobi.
That's just so ridiculous.
Then another one comes. We have an inland port that is working. SGR inapata pesa kubeba mizigo. Reduce congestion kwa barabara. South Sudan had rented nearly a quarter of the Naivasha inland port just to clear for them. That was good business. Mjinga mwingine akakuja akasema turudishe kila kitu Mombasa. Kutoka Mombasa mpaka South Sudan is just another long way. Lazima urudi side ya Nairobi alafu ndo anze kupanda. Hakuna njia kutoka Mombasa kwenda straight mpaka juu. So hao pia kakasirika, where will they go to another country? So it's bad governance is what's making us lose to other countries. As much as we can say tulikosana nao nini, yes, Tanzania improved the economy. Wakajisaidia wamefika pali wewe wanatushinda na vitu mingi sana.
Absolutely.
Sisi alafu kiangalia pia foreign investment that came in walifanya. Sisi in Kenya, let's not sugarcoat things. We are corrupt. Tunapenda tu kuiba. Kila mtu ujifikiria.
Mika.
Na unajua ilikuwa 2-year anniversary ya Magufuli.
Oh wow, leo ni 2-year anniversary ya Magufuli's death.
Yep.
Wow, you know, time moves
it's already
so
2
fast.
years.
Yes.
I almost want to ask you questions about that, but we're on a different topic right now.
Okay, let's keep on different topic.
So I will come to you later about that.
But now you know the thing is Tanzania.
So is Mama on Magufuli's term or her term?
Still on his term.
Magufuli's term.
She's on Magufuli's
She's
term.
on Magufuli's term.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's
But she
still
was
on her
supposed
term.
to be on her term because more than 2.5, I think more than 3 years, it's your
But
term.
you're supposed to
So-
go.
so-
Are you
but
supposed to
shouldn't
go
they-
for
so
So
election?
she can
election
do
should-
only one re-election.
According to the
Constitution. Okay.
yes, according to the way I
Yeah.
read it.
So have you guys gone to election to vote for
Not
her?
yet until
No.
2025.
For
So
how?
she's still on his term?
Yeah.
Yeah, she's still on Magufuli's
But
term
does
until
his
25.
term count as hers because she came into his term?
2.5 years.
But
If-
she was
if
he was
you-
in for like what, a year in his second
No,
year.
no,
So
no. Magufuli,
supposedly-
when
He
Magufuli
didn't
passed
even-
away,
he didn't get
hakuwa
to a
amekaa,
year.
ilikuwa ni miezi.
Yes.
It had
It was
not
just
got
a
to a
few
year.
months. Yeah.
So according to the constitution, as far as I know, she's supposed to be. This is her first term.
Yeah,
Because
this
it's
is her
more than
first
3
term.
years.
Yeah, so she can only do
so
one
if you
re-election.
serve more than two
More
and a
than-
half years,
It's more than
Yes,
2.5.
that's
it's
you.
considered
It's
a
considered
term.
a full
Considered a
term.
term.
Yeah.
Understood.
Yeah.
I think more than
Okay.
3 years for TZ.
for,
Interesting.
for Tanzania, for Kenya, it's 2.5.
Interesting.
Yeah, so she can only stand for one more re-election.
Election.
Yeah,
Okay.
not re-election, one more election because she
Election.
wasn't elected in. But interestingly enough, Tanzania has been building ports in Bagamoyo, and
So where is that?
Bagamoyo is in Tanzania.
Where is that in Tanzania?
It's on the coast of Tanzania. Sasa
Okay.
sijui nikuelezea.
Coastal
no,
region.
I needed you to say that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, Lamu, not Lamu, Naivasha, iko kwa coast mahali.
I know.
Okay, that's what I meant.
Yes, you have a point. Bagamoyo
Okay.
is an actual port.
Okay.
Tanzania hakuna hiyo mchezo.
Okay.
Hakuna hiyo mchezo ya sijui kupeleka vitu so that
Inland.
you get votes.
It's inland port.
Yeah, so there are ports they're building, and there are interesting things that the late Magufuli checked the Chinese on, with those contracts that they had where they say if they build a port, you cannot build a port within a radius of, 600 miles for, the next 30 years. And Magufuli said no to that. So a lot of these ports are being funded by their own money. And while hapa Kenya, tunakazana ati we speak better English, in Tanzania, they're building and they're moving forward. Tourism walitupita, which is a good thing. To me, we should never look at it as a competition. I know we've been taught to look at it as a competition, but we should never look at it as a competition. On the tourism part, Tanzania has slacked their feet.
Have we opened the borders?
No.
The only time I'll not look at that as competition is if we've opened the borders.
Now, Tanzania slacked their feet. We were supposed to have, you see, now we have a common passport.
Yeah.
We're supposed to have a common tourist visa, meaning that if someone goes to the Tanzanian embassy or the Kenyan embassy or the Ugandan embassy and even Rwanda and Burundi, it's supposed to be one tourism visa. You get the same visa. So once you
And
go
I think
in,
we need that.
we need that.
we
we
do.
do.
Once you go in, you can decide to go.
But I thought it was open borders. So what's the whole point of getting
I
visas?
know.
no,
If we have the same passport,
no, for someone coming in, for visitors coming in,
Oh,
they
understood.
still have to get a visa for a foreigner
Okay,
coming
okay,
in.
for outside, but for
Yeah,
the people from
like
those
for an American
countries,
coming in.
they should be able to. Okay,
So the borders,
all right.
it's supposed to be open at some point, but it's not there. We're even supposed to have a single currency, but that hasn't happened yet.
Yeah.
it's gonna be a situation.
Yes, but that's why I'm saying, when you have an open tourism, when someone comes to Nairobi, they can easily go to Uganda, they can easily go to Tanzania without any issue of trying to get an extra visa or anything, and I think that will be beneficial for everyone.
Kind of like Shenzhen.
Yes,
It's the same
Yeah.
process, right?
it's kind of the same process, yeah. So let's quickly go to Stephen Batty's comment as we get to wrap up and we get to the
Please read. I don't
controversial
know. I
part.
lost my comments.
Okay. Let me see where were we? There was a part where Slayer was saying, she works in logistics. And
No, you need to go a little bit higher than that.
let me see.
Yeah,
Oh, Stephen JJ. I
boy.
think this is where. Wow. So Slay.
Let's see.
I saw a video somewhere. This person explained how French colonies are paying back loans in the former France currency and not the euro. This hit hard. May not be related, but just a thought. I would share this. West African countries
Ask
are.
Arikana Chihombori.
Oh yes, she got fired
Yes.
from African Union
For
because
that,
of
she
highlighting
keep
that.
calling that out.
Yes. And then Stephen JJ says, will this shortage lead to fake dollar currency? Unajua tu wa Kenya. The new dollars, I know there's always been an industry of faking dollars, but the newer dollars are a bit
It's
more
very
difficult
tough.
to
It's very
fake
tough to
than
fake those
zile
ones.
za zamani. That's why even in Kenya, there's a certain year they won't accept your dollars. Zilikuwa sijui za 96 and before, There's certain dollars that are not being
You
accepted.
can't do anything that's less than, I think, 2013 or something
Yeah,
like that.
they
And
don't
then
like
it
those
depends on
older
the
bills.
denomination as well.
Yeah. And Slay was saying she works in logistics, and I have thought of using that knowledge to help
Good luck.
build back Kenya. Aya, ndio anamwambia good luck Slay. And then
Unajua kuna tofauti ya system na shit system.
okay. Shitstem
Tuendelee.
shitstem ya majambazi. And then Black Pearl anasema there's also an imaginary port in LD. I would like to know more about that imaginary port. And then
That's why it's imaginary.
okay. Ama nile like ya yule mtu wa mashamba. But let's forget about that.
This guy,
Washeke says in
I
general.
have to make sure I don't travel with Ali going to Kenya. Ati tunaingia pamoja hivi.
I know it.
Me.
Gonna be stopped.
Handicap.
Zero.
You need
No,
to be
you are safe. You are safe with
better.
me. No, I'm
Zero
very
chance.
docile when I'm in Kenya.
Zero chance.
I'm very docile. I'm
You've
all
already
about.
been profiled.
I'm
So
all
by
about
the
sherehe.
time we are fika ngoma there, the guy kuja hapa we na sherehe yako. Never ever.
okay.
Like I don't know you.
Okay. Alafu hapa Sean Leonard anasema Ali, hiyo jale ni moto, unatesa mbaya, ntanunua second hand bana, ni aje mazei jale hii hapa imefanya nikapata ma DMs nyingi sana, but a story for another day.
Washeke.
Let's go to and Eve Mwangi, karibu sana. And let's go to Stephen Batty's comment. Stephen
My
Batty pia
concern,
made a
first of
comment.
all, is with my family that is back home. They are going to suffer when it comes to the Kenyan shilling depreciating. Things are going to cost more. Goods are going to cost more. And what does that do in turn? They will come and charge us the cost to the diaspora. Look at it this way. Last year, when you used to lipa na M-Pesa, you were not charged any money. Right now, you are being charged for the lipa and pesa. This is when you're using the bill option. I keep forgetting what it is. However, why should diasporans care? We do care because it's going to affect our pockets. Sooner or later, we're going to have to dig deeper to salvage some things that we used to work on in terms of our families. Businesses will be affected, to those who have had businesses or are having businesses back at home or intend to have businesses back home. That's why we should care. Will Manderano help? I don't think that it's going to help anyway, because look at it this way. Lives are going to be lost. For what reason? We have to figure out something else other than the Manderano and this whole hula baloo thing. I do agree you have a right to protest, but the way the protest is going and the figures involved in the protest, I believe they should take a chill pill for now and figure out something else. My take over the future is that if we are going to be successful, let's look at the policies that we're making right now. Sound policies are what are going to get us out of this issue. Yes, it might be hard right now, but if there's promise of things that are there to come, then we will probably have something good in the near future. Remember, the pandemic also happened. We're just out of that pandemic, and this is also affecting not just everyone in Kenya, but the whole world per se as well. So let's give them a bit of grace and see what the policies are going to do. Sometimes people get confused when you see politics. There's a politics game and there's a policies game. I always tell people, watch and look at the policies that are being enacted vis-a-vis the politics. And that's all I have for the OneMic show.
You're listening to the OneMic show.
Wow. Policy game versus politics game. And here is where I think Kenyans need to focus. So when people are complaining about port, I'm going to come to you, Micah. When people are complaining about port ilitolewa ikapelekwa Naivasha, I was listening to that Mombasa historian, Stambuli. I think I've mentioned him before. He has some very good history of the coastal region and everything. He talks about, like all these things people wanaandamana, these things were crafted in parliament. Who was your member of parliament? Na naonyesha, this was done back in 2013. This was done back in 2015. Where were you? What were you putting your member of parliament to account that tunapangwa huku, but you're not doing anything about it, or you're the one who's supporting this idea of kutoa port hapa kuipeleka Naivasha. But now the same members of parliament who supported that are the same ones who are on the streets maandamano with guys who are complaining kwa nini port ilipelekwa Naivasha. And I think that's where people now need to start. In Kenya, I think we need kind of like a C-SPAN that can just get the analysis to people minus the politics to make people understand the policies. I'm going to come to you, Micah, to make people understand the policies in such a way that they can interrogate, like what's happening. But all our media houses, because they're for-profit media houses, the focus is on highlights, is on our political rallies, it's on Nani alimtukana nani, and that's what people know as politics. And in fact, the people who come to win elections ni watu wanajua kutukanana in rallies, people who know how to dance in funerals, and people who know how to create those highlight reels of alienda pali, akagawa chakula, ama akagawa pesa, and that's unfortunately why we are stuck with the kind of leadership that we have. Micah.
Ali, thank you for that. You did point out some very interesting things. And I'm glad that Stephen alisema let's look at the policies that are being put in place and the policies that are being watched. But then let's look at the policies that you're saying are being put in place. How many of those policies that the ruling regime is saying right now, and we can go by their manifesto and their 100-day manifesto they gave to us, how many of those things have been enacted into law, apart from ile hustler fund? Nini ingine wamefanya wakaweka. We have a country that is deciding they would rather pay churches for wanaomba and then come and complain to us that you're broke. An over-bloated government, tumeongeza 50 cabinet secretaries, right? It'd be 50.
CAS.
Yes. So wali change tu jina, but bado cabinet secretaries.
They're the equivalent of assistant ministers.
Yes.
Yeah, they're glorified CSs.
Yes. So how many? 50? 50 for how many ministries? Yeah.
For less than 21 ministries.
Okay. Another thing and then parastatal data to see engage your parastatal heads, right? All of them that have been appointed who have been new. Basically, it's like everybody in government who was holding an office that was fireable was fired and new people were employed. Even in America, when government changes, they don't fire just everybody. There are key positions that you put of the people that you want. But the backbone of the people who run, who know the day-to-day working, that ministry are always going to stay there. So these policies, how you expect them to be implemented? Well, somebody is coming in new and trying to work. Now, your story at dry port, Ali, you come from Mombasa. You know the traffic that happens docks when it's time to unload a ship, and it's trailers in a pita. It's always chaotic. The tripod, what it did was, the way Mombasa is designed and the way where Kilindini Harbour is, there's only one road to that port. And that is the same road that passes through in the middle of downtown Mombasa. It was causing conjunctions. They tried and moved the dry docks areas, Miritini, Mikindani, but it was still affecting regular folks and regular how they were doing. Moving it to Mombasa, moving it to Naivasha and the Nairobi parts, you didn't have to go and clear your goods in Mombasa. Trucks didn't have to drive all the way to Mombasa. Trucks would pick up from Naivasha and Nairobi and distribute. Basically, we were saving our resources. Our roads were lasting longer. The SGR, which we need to pay for, was finding a way to pay for itself. So if this was a working policy, why are you coming again and then wanting to remove this working policy to implement you as in the name of policy? Some of the things that you call policies instead of politics in Kenya are actually just politics being disguised as policy. So that when I was president, I did A, B, C, D. When I was the MP, I did A, B, C, D. It's high time that Kenyans should stop depending on social media activism. Tumezoea, if we don't like something, we complain online. If the government feels shame on me, what a change it to. But in reality, they just do face cover to hide for us. It's high time where people should ask your MPs questions. All these things, everything that is implemented in that country is discussed in parliament. Do you guys even see the sessions of parliament? The only sessions of parliament aired on TV is when it's something controversial. That's when you will see it on TV, watu wakiongea. MPs walitukanana, MP aliambia huyu hivi, right? Huyu alislap huyu. That's the thing you'll see. You'll never see people discussing a session of the parliament. During Moi, we had leo katika bunge, and they will explain everything that has been said in the bunge. We don't have that thing anymore. Our politicians are on TV politicking every day. Watu wana campaign. Elections ilisha juzi. Less than a year. Watu already are campaigning for next year, for the next election. We are not going to see any changes that we're expecting to see. So it's either people exercise their right in the constitution, which means you can recall your elected leaders. I'm sure most Kenyans don't even know they can do that. Instead of trying to say that, let's just sit and wait. What are we sitting and waiting to see? The economy tanking? Let me ask you a simple question. How many guys have checked how much are the shares of Safaricom? The biggest telecommunicator in the country. How much is their shares?
No, the stock market, I haven't checked Safaricom in particular, but stocks have been going down. They've been
Safaricom
going down.
is going for 17 shillings. Today, it closed at 17 shillings per share.
Normally, how much is it? On average?
Or like how much was it at its high?
I know it was a significant drop. There are actually two shareholders who are dropping their shares. Hold up. I had this.
Should I buy it now? Buy the dip?
I'll come back to this.
So Tabitha Njeri anasema Safaricom shares have lost most of their value, about 70%.
Can I read the teacher's comment?
Yeah, go ahead.
Because I think it's really, really funny. Is this what we are mandamanning about? I think that's a really good question. A really interesting word. Kenya has a lot of work to go. Ata EA Union doesn't trust us. I mean, we are very not untrustworthy to the East African community.
Okay, all right.
But anyway, I'm just saying that. I just wanted to read the mandamanning.
Yeah,
I thought it was very funny.
Yeah, and then read there's some other comments there that came before.
Okay. No, that the one before that was you and your jacket.
Okay. Maybe I just wanted to hear about my jacket.
Tabitha, get out of here. Tabitha says some Safaricom shares. Of course, she talks about the billions for offices of spouses. I can't even begin to think about that.
Yeah.
Tabitha says, Safaricom shares have lost most of their value, about 7% or more. I believe that is horrible. Campaigning in Kenya never ends. It's a never-ending cycle. I would like to read Pablo's comments on YouTube. Yeah. Because we have YouTube Live, and we want to make sure that we also read those comments.
Yes, please.
Okay, so I'm going to read all of his comments. Let's face it, leadership on Africa is about selfish interest. During campaigns, there will be a lot of promises, but then when in power, politicians will make a U-turn on the campaign promises. People in the diaspora will always seek to offer solutions to the political scene in Kenya, yet they are not that much involved. They wait to read opinions from social media and then act on those. Interesting. Let's also face it, Kenya has been a mess for quite some time, and it will take equally a long time to fix some issues, regardless of who is the president. You know what? I do agree with that point, by the way. I'm all for protests and picketing, but that should be informed by something. Taking the example of Kenya, I'm still trying to understand what Honorable Raila is protesting. Things were bad under President Uhuru. Kenya needs good legislation that will facilitate good governance and accountability, so that when someone takes over as president, they can still be kept in check.
I think Kenya needs to divorce the civil service and elected offices, because I think that's one thing that the United States has done so well.
Effectively.
President Trump tried to disrupt that, but it was still not possible to disrupt it because it's rooted in there. Yeah. You'll find, people who are career diplomats, they stay between Republican and Democratic presidents. And then there was Defense Secretary Robert Gates, who served a Republican and a Democrat president, served under Bush and served in Obama's government. Yeah. And that tells you something. We have our own partisan issues in the US. We have some serious partisan issues here. But I think, it's important to divorce that civil service, because I think in Kenya, with every new regime, we're expecting everyone, even those who are doing well in the previous regime, to be ejected and new people are being brought in, especially in these seats like in parastatals and then now diplomatic appointments. That's where Kizungumkuti, that's where all losers, everyone who lost elections and there was no space for them as a minister or as a CAS or as a parastatal board member, they are brought to the embassies. And that's how our previous ambassador, I'm sorry to say, our previous ambassador here in the U.S., Ambassador Robinson Jero Githae, was the recipient of a gift after losing elections. He had never been a diplomat. He had never served anywhere. I think this was the first time that Kenya brought someone to America to be the ambassador without any diplomatic experience. That was
the
a
staff
disaster.
were embarrassed to work with him.
Yes,
FYI.
it was a disaster. There's no easier way, no nicer way of saying it. It was a disaster. And that's where, and we're gonna leave it at that.
Yeah.
And that's what's gonna start happening. And of course, kuna issues na ukabila, because sometimes we try to meander around these things, in the DMV. And I'm sorry to my Rift Valley people, when Moi was the president, he spread a lot of diplomats from amongst his tribesmen. That's why you'll find in the DMV there's a very strong community which dates back to when Moi was president. And it was not just the people being appointed because once you're appointed as ambassador, guess what? You're going to bring your people to hold other positions within the embassy. And to do so that's how you sometimes see certain communities benefiting from certain things. There was a time when the Kisii community also benefited when Simeon Nyachae was in one of those ministries. There was a time there's a number of different communities that benefited from that, which I think is a very problematic thing, and it needs to be sanitized if we are to have people who can effectively negotiate trade deals for us. They can effectively negotiate treaties that we are signing with other countries for us. Because when you go on a table and these people on the other side are seasoned and trained, they can smell an untrained person and they will take advantage of you without you knowing.
Can I say, I'm going to say this. Kenya has some awesome.
Yes, we do.
Awesome professionals.
Absolutely, we do.
They need to be put into their...
They need to be put to work.
Yeah. Not only they need to be put to work, they need to be posted in their rightful positions.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's very true.
I will say that.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So this has been, this session has gone longer than we expected.
Are we done?
We are going to take a quick break. We're not done. We're going to take a quick break, play some music, a very short break. Now, the next segment, we are going to have someone who was commenting from Kenya. This is a Kenyan living in Kenya, and I'm going to reveal who it is. And it's contrary opinions to what we were getting from most of the people who are commenting, because we have to look at this issue on both sides, and quite controversial opinions too. So I want you to stay tuned. We're going to be right back in a few minutes.
And here's the teaser.
OneMic show, I'll call you out.
All right.
Yes, there you go. We were
tuned.
called out. So stay tuned.
Omosh! 20 cars.
My sexy angel Angela, with you hakuna matata. Kionyeshwa nipa furaha, itabidi tumechanga hiyo sadaka. Akiwalai nimekupata, can't lose you niko rada. Big size jiggy baby uko sawa. I'm addicted, Angela my dawa. Angie, body, shake your body. Angie, know you want me, try me.
Angela, I know you like teasing, I know you like freaking, I know you sound easy. Angela, am I the one speaking, am I the one changing, or you just don't know?
I've been count my blessings. When God say yes, no man can stress. Hey, man tell the truth, man don't lie. Wezi kutembelea kiatu changu kikufai. Hey, kila mmoja anapenda kufurahi. I take myself, I'm doing fine. Nataka kuishi milele, I don't wanna die. Smoke cigarette, drinks to refresh mind. Wait up. Ongeze another round. Wait up. Nataka another round. Wait up. Ongeze another round. Wait up.
You're listening to the OneMic Show.
Chupa inakata, chupa ina road. Moja moto, moja baridi, hakuna story. Them girls wanna have fun, not bored. No spending when the plans are good. No logi hapana, enjoy na kichanga.
Bona unaturoga songa. Bona unaturoga 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 Nigga take you kidonda saro yangu na uma. Yo kage kisonga songa. Bona unaturoga Nigga take you kidonda saro yangu na uma. Yo kage kisonga songa. Bona unaturoga Nigga take you kidonda saro yangu na uma. Yo kage kisonga songa. Bona unaturoga Nigga take you kidonda saro yangu na uma. Yo kage kisonga songa. Bona unaturoga them fire. Break it, you know them fire. Break it, you know we fire. Break it, you know we break it. Fire. You know we fire. Yes man, we fire. You know we fire. You know we fire. Everybody just push up your hand. Pretty girl from the block, put you wind up your waist. All of them good boy around, just mash up the place. This is the East African reggae bashment crew. In a the step up, man contest. Who that one contest? East African bashment contest.
Ni kweli kwako mimi nimedata, mwingine misioni wala stamani yeah. Mimi napenda unavyosogea karibu yangu mami na kunipa busu yeah. Ndio maana nakufuata kila unapokwenda kama kivuli yeah. Ndio maana nakufuata kila unapokwenda kama nyota wewe wanga mikwangu we malaika namba moja yeah. Baby usiwe na hofu wala usiogope usione haya we kama nyota wewe wanga mikwangu we malaika namba moja yeah. Baby usiwe na hofu baby kwako nimedata baby kwako nimedata baby kwako nimedata kwako nimedata baby kwako nimedata baby. You know say that me like the way my girl you can walk it and back it up again to the rhythm and sound it.
Anita wangu lelele nasukuma ili siku ziende urudi nyumbani tuishi pamoja. Asikia mazoea yana tabu
Ndo naamini tangu uondoke nitaraha nakosa mimi. Ukumbuke tulilisha naye amini ama mimi na wewe, yeah. Maisha milele mpaka nafukiwa chini. Ni mawazo yanayotesa moyo wangu, nitanielewe, yeah. Natamani huyajue ili unilinde mimi. Sijejua uliwaza nini, nitakuwa mbali na mie, yeah. Hata hilo nilijua ili nisaishwe mimi. Amani maradhi, nina wako daktari. Unambie mapema ili dawa yake nijue. Amani maradhi,
Next time msimwambie Omosh kwamba hakuna hit or miss.
We
anamalizia humo.
We yani Omosh. Hii ndio maana ya OmoshFaya. Kidogo nimwambie acha tuendelee tu na hii muziki
tumalize show. Kwani nyingine anakuwa Omosh Ashes.
Kuna time nyingine ni Omosh Moshi, not fire. Omosh Smoke.
It's always amazing.
Omosh. Let's give him his flowers. Omosh ni DJ Noma sana. Give him his flowers. That was an amazing session. That was an amazing session. Tumekubali. Aya, sawa. You know, the first session that we had, I mean, of course, we're doing a review. We're reviewing comments of what diasporans think about the Kenyan economy and what's happening. There's a Manderano that's being called on Monday because there's issues in Kenya. There's issues of cost of living, bei ya unga, bei ya sukari, bei ya kila kitu imepanda.
Kwa nini tusiweke wote kwenye spot? Ali, are you for or against Manderano?
Mimi, I've always been for Manderano, you know, and for me, my reasoning is based on history of my country.
Okay.
You know, if we take out Manderano out of the history of Kenya, we become any other country, we become Cameroon. We become, you know, and I love my Cameroonians, but they've had the same president from 1981.
Omosh njoo kuna ujibu.
Yeah. You know, we would be, you know, if it wasn't for Manderano, there are so many things that we enjoy today and that we take for granted.
Yeah.
Kuna story hapa kidogo. When I was in primary school, nilienda school ya Moi Educational Center. Personally owned school by Moi. My mother was called to school twice. Na mamangu ananikumbusha. One of them was because of an essay that I wrote. You know, like when I was in, I think nilikuwa class 4 or class 5. But now, you know, like later on as a grown-up, I'm thinking, I mean, what kind of country are we living in where a standard 4 child becomes a threat that a parent has to be called?
So ulianza ugaidi mapema.
So the other issue that I was called for, hii hapa mama hakuitwa, but nilienda nikacharazwa kwa ofisi ya nini, deputy. Kwa ofisi ya principal. No, yata ikuwa deputy kwa ofisi headmaster. It's because I waved the 2-finger salute. You remember the 2-finger salute?
Yes.
I do not remember.
So the 2-finger salute, so when we had one party,
victory.
So when we had one party, KANU, this was KANU sign.
Yeah.
We are unified. We are one party.
Yeah.
So this was almost treasonous. Doing this, your finger would even be cut off. It was very serious. It was very serious. No, this was before the 92 election.
Correct, yes.
And that was the very hot, that was the very, you know, like heated part, where people were being very, very careful. Nilikuwa, at that time, had my mom, there was a time when my mom was still, before my mom came to Nairobi,
Magadi.
Hiyo time tukiwa Magadi. Ndo naambia mimi mjukwa, niko na street credibility huko Masaini. That was it was a very strong Moi zone. It was a very strong KANU zone. There was a time I was frog marched. Hii time ya campaign imeshika moto 92. I was frog marched by Masais because walinishika, you know, like tuko watoto tunacheza, and me for some reason me already knew at that point mi nilijua tu niko opposition. I don't know how, but nilijua tu
na vistori vyako na vinatakiwa special show manake unajua
let me tell you
right anze na ile moshi
ile moshi na cookies na brownies. Sasa
nilibebwa na Wamasai wakanileta nyumbani, and the good thing about Magadi was a small town, watu walikuwa najuana, so those guys knew where I was living, so walinichukua na of course mi ni mtoto, they can't do anything to me, but wakanirudisha nyumbani kwa mzazi na wakamwambia my mom
huyu
mchunge huyu hapa. So that tells you something, you know, that's a country that we are living in. We're living in a country
that was then,
where even a publication, how many people went to jail because of a publication?
Seditious publications. That's what they're called.
Publications.
Yes. Okay.
To me, that's why I think there needs to be historical context. I think there's a problem in how our Kenyan history is being taught in schools. And for me, I'll never...
Wow. You know, it's interesting you say that, because, you know, the group of good schools, they're not taught the history that we were taught.
The group of schools are being taught, you know, like those things that now people are not being taught.
No, but I'm saying, no. The history that they have of Kenya that they are being taught, there's a lot of gaps.
There's a lot
things
of gaps
that they have left
okay,
out.
Twende kwa Omosh.
Yeah.
Is it whitewashed? Thank you.
You're asking me if I'm for Manderano or not for?
Yeah.
I'm for Manderano because I have seen it work.
Okay. Ruth?
I'm always for Manderano. Okay. Always.
Protest
is the language of the unheard.
Yes. So
I'm coming to you, Micah. Micah niambie, Micah. Are you for or against? Una remix version ya Maandamano unataka?
No. Me, I'm for Maandamano because, as I said, I've seen it. Me nimegrow Sabasaba kama Ali.
Yeah.
Nimegrow Sabasaba kama Ali, right? I've seen it happen. I've seen how Maandamano has brought us multi-party elections.
But
I've
is it the same?
How that's nakuja hapo.
Aye.
I've seen how Manderano has been able to achieve a lot of good in the country. Now, the issue is the people who Manderano lifted to the heights where they are right now do understand the power of Manderano. And when people start protesting, it's never even led to grow fit. It turns violent.
Yeah, that's where I
most of the demonstration in Kenya, not most, all the demonstrations in Kenya, violence was on the police. See what?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, all right.
Violence was on the police.
Effectiveness.
Bado niko namaliza, lakini kuna maandamano mengine pia ni ya kijinga.
Sawa.
Unaonelea siku Kibaki alijiapisha usiku saa 1 usiku akajifungia kwa nje.
Yes. Wakatumia kitamba ingine hata sijui alitoa wapi.
Watu wa Kinomosh waliprotest. Watu wa Kinomosh kuprotest. Wajingo walienda wakalima barabara.
Na wakang'oa reli.
Ati gari za Kikuyu zisipite hapa. Hizo ndo zoenda Busia kufanya biashara.
All right.
Yes, nani akona barabara mbaya mpaka saa hii?
Ni watu wa Kinaomosh.
Alafu pia trade pia huko pia.
Na sio pia ndo watu wa kununua reli.
Gari kwa
ilikuwa Kibira bana.
So everybody moved. Trailers zikaanza kupitia njia ya Malaba. Juu njia ya ukipitia Kisumu kutoka Kisumu mpaka Busia imelimwa katikati. So like the whole place, if you look at the development of the whole place, it slowed down compared to the other towns around the area. And then since the roads were created around the areas here, all the other roads have thrived. Place of trade isipokuwa. So unaona vitu kama hizi kama hii ni maandamano ya ujinga. Kuna maandamano which is supposed to be maandamano to right. But then there's also the type of maandamano imeingia kwa hii nchi imekuwa ya ujinga.
Tucha anasema
ukisema unaishi Kibera, ukisema unaishi Kibera na unaenda kufanya maandamano na kila siku unapitenga kwa duka ya Ali, siku ijaona chakula unakopa mafuta, unakopa chakula hapo, alafu sikia maandamano useme huyu alia kwenda huko uchome duka
I
yake.
know.
Nani analala njaa? Nani analala njaa?
Where?
Yeah.
You know, like that is why I kind of like.
Twende
I
comment
don't
then
like that
tunakwenda
part.
kwenye
but real quick bandio before tuende kwa comment, I think sometimes there's a big focus, and of course nobody wants violence. Hakuna mtu anataka kifo, hakuna mtu anataka hiyo mambo ya watu kuumizwa, lakini we, you know, like we are very swift to look at you know, like the violence which is always started by the police. It's never started by waandamanaji, but we never look at the violence that people have to live with every day. We never look at that, the day-to-day violence of kuwa unaamka hujui kama utakula, hujui kama, you know, bei ya unga itapanda, hujui kama bei ya sukari itapanda. There's a violence that people are experiencing every day, and I keep telling people there is no part of the world where things changed by people just sitting back and doing nothing. Okay. So the people who are criticizing maandamano or street action, show us the alternative, show us the way. Like I said, there's 198 ways of doing it. If whatever, you know, like the Railas and the Orengos and the others are doing is not good, then, and that's the reason why, you know, like when Boni was doing his thing, I was happy for him, but people were still criticizing him. When alikuja na njia tofauti, anakuja na nguruwe, anakuja na unajua si ni Waislamu hatupendi nguruwe, lakini mimi nilisupport hiyo protest yake. Hiyo anaenda anachora picha in a public place. Mkiamka asubuhi ndo mnakuta wanasiasa wamevaa diaper. Amechora hapo. That's but it's violence. It's a good violence. It's violence. It's violence. It's violence without blood.
It's like a hate with love.
No, it's hate with love. Yeah, ni violence bila damu. So that's why I say those who don't like this. Yeah.
Micah. The funniest thing was this. Watu waliingilia Boni, wakamtukana, wakamuita unalipwa, umenunuliwa, sijui nini. But just shida kitokea wanakimbiliana naye.
Boni, wako inbox. Faster, Boni.
You know, I spend an afternoon. Go on, Micah.
Oh, sorry. No, I was saying it's quite ironical whereby you will talk about this. And me, I'm saying this thing right now. You hear people, because people are looking at it. They're looking at demonstrations, and they're looking at it from the violent side. Right now, you see everybody saying Raila chill, Raila chill, Raila chill. I can assure you, the moment Raila chills, something will happen. People will ask the opposition.
And they're already doing that when he took the handshake.
Handshake,
problem. Opposition, problem.
Na akinyamaza,
problem. Alafu watu watasema tuko biased.
Boni akienda kuongea, amelipwa na American. Amelipwa, amepewa sijui nini. Boni akitulia akisema okay, let me raise my family, let me think about my family. All of a sudden, someone tagged Boniface Mwangi. Why are we doing this?
You guys are doing nothing. Ruth.
Yeah. Wewe toka nje uka protest.
I spent an afternoon with Mwangi, and the entire time it was there with DC. Like we talked, but we barely talked because it was like
responding. Yeah,
it was responding to DCI things. You know, trying to tag DCI and telling them like, you know, this kid was primary school girl had been arrested for I don't know what, you know, and it was there like people are tagging him, and so for him it was like I need to tag the right people, so he had to involve that organization he works with, that's pro bono lawyers, and then tag the DCI to tell them like what the act they did was wrong. And I'm like, don't give this man peace. It's either he's in it or he's not in it, and lakini mtamuita, you know, like. So, and I think we need to like appreciate people who create this environment that we can, you know, who are brave enough, and as you say, is courageous enough to protest and to call out the power that be into action.
And what you should do, if, for example, we unaogopa sana tear gas, cousins wakina Omosha waogopi tear gas, they call for it. Ikiwa unaogopa sana tear gas,
I do.
This left side of the room needs to be shut down.
No, ni ukweli, your cousins they don't fear tear gas. In fact, they even call it. In fact, even after protests, when there's no tear gas, they are so disappointed.
It's like atukufanya kitu.
Yeah, they feel like they did nothing. But
we need to get back to the topic.
All right, yeah.
It's 10:28.
No, lakini unaona, what I was trying to bring is if you're so afraid of tear gas or you're afraid of violence that might occur, go to those people who are willing to go to the front lines and ask them, how can I help? Mi siwezi kwenda hapo mbele, mi ni mwoga, mi mtoto wa geti kali, I went to a group of schools, I can't go there, but what can I do?
I would do that form of protest.
Can I help with, like creating flyers? Can I help with money? Can I help? That's what you need to be asking. Not kuwakashifu wale watu ambao wamejitolea weko pale mbele, because hiyo mambo ndimo inaendelea sana.
Twende kwa Albo.
Yes, so Albo lives in Kenya.
Yes.
And he actually does the amazing work that you see on our YouTube page, on our Instagram. He's our video editor. But he also has some very controversial opinions.
From Kenya.
He has, he has very controversial opinions.
Micah.
And
he has opinions. Don't tag them controversial.
Yeah, he has opinions. He has opinions that are different.
Different from who?
And this being different from a lot of people. Different from a lot of people.
Ali.
I think just call them opinions. Don't define the opinion. Just opinion.
No research, no right to conclude.
Okay, sawa. So let's listen to what Albo was saying, and then I want you to pay attention to this, because these are some very interesting comments. Not the comments that you typically hear on the OneMic show, but we like these alternative viewpoints.
About what now? We're going to start with what?
Okay.
Economy?
So we're going to start with the economy, the worldwide economy. Albo.
Think about this, After almost 2 years of the world's bureaucracy closing down our economies worldwide, what exactly did people expect? I mean, the fact that there was so much inconsistency, the fact that we could see clearly so many people, the higher-ups, were going to make a killing from locking us down. The fact that many of us played a part chasing people around about vaccines and whatnot. What has happened now? Pfizer made record profits. Moderna made record profits. What happened to the rest of the people? You are given some stipend there. Now you have to pay for it through inflation, which is going worldwide, because we closed our economies. Most businesses that were closed at that time are not opening again. But what we are continue to hear, first of all, is that people now are concerned. You weren't concerned then about how these people are behaving. You weren't concerned where the most corrupt, most inefficient, the most vile people in the world are closing down people's businesses over a pandemic that had only a small a disease that only affected a small part of the population. You closed down the entire world. And some of you are responsible for pushing this bullshit, and you must take accountability, not trying to pass over the buck. That's the first thing.
Interesting comments, like a pandemic that affected. Now these are Albo's opinions that affected a small part of the world,
and they are
and some of you
are making money.
Some of you are responsible for spreading this. Our producer here beeped that word, which was unradio friendly. So I'm wondering who he was referring to as some of you. So I don't know.
I'm responsible for that. Maybe I'm responsible for that. I'm responsible for pushing people to get vaccinated.
Mm-hmm.
I'm responsible
coming out
for
of the cloud.
I'm telling people to stay at home. Babu, let's be realistic. I'm good at mentioning vaccines, and I really want to talk to anti-vaxxers now. Right? Most people say that the vaccine was unnecessary and it was just a way of people making profit. What you guys didn't understand is that before the vaccine, we saw the virus mutating, and it was mutating for the worse. Now, when the vaccine came in, and which a majority of people got vaccinated, when you got affected with the virus, I could go in and mutate Cambodia. Most people could fight it, most people could go to hospital and come out of it. The people who were dying from complications coming from getting the vaccine reduced.
All right.
Now the world opened, and the majority of us have been vaccinated. So even the virus that was being spread around, kwa sababu we had built antibodies that we were getting it, the virus that was being spread across was not as strong as the virus that nobody had an idea about. Nobody in this world had any immunity to it. So that is why it was killing people in the first months the way it was killing. The vaccine is the one that actually helped in reducing the damage the vaccine happened as it was going through, to a point where by people are getting COVID and are living with it like the flu. Even the flu has gone back to killing more people than COVID.
Yes.
So when anti-vaxxers come and start saying that we were not vaccinated and we didn't do anything, you were saved by the people who went and got vaccinated. You were saved by the people who did social distancing. The closing down of the economies, the closing down of the world, actually reduced the spread of the virus in the speed that it was going, to allow for the health system not to collapse. A health system collapses when the number of people who are sick are more than the number of beds and healthcare providers that can be able to take care of them. Okay. The world healthcare system was going to collapse. You saw what happened in Italy, parts of Italy, and parts of Europe, and China. That's why it took China so long to recover from this. The health system they were literally taking a quick course of nurses and doctors so they can be able to have a health system performing. So if this is what our alternative facts watakuja watuambia hapa juu sahii they've cleared out the danger and tried to show us that because I didn't believe in COVID, I didn't get vaccinated and I survived. You survived because of people who took the steps. You didn't survive because you're a ninja. You're a superhuman.
I might have affected very few people.
I might have affected very few people. You survived because other people protected you.
Okay. Aya, Ruth.
The only thing I need to comment on that is when 1,000 people are dying a day at the height of COVID, that is not something small in just one country, in the US. I remember I was in New York when these stats were coming 3 days in a row. Over 1,000 people died.
Yeah.
You're not going to call that a small thing, you know? Now, I mean, if you might not be for vaccination in general, you might be skeptical about new medication. I'll give you that. Everybody has their own right about those things. But then don't call this thing a small thing. It was a ton of people. We lost a lot of people to this thing.
Now, real quick, before we go to Albo's next comment about voting in Kenya, why do you think there was a very large population that actually until today have these same beliefs that Albo has, you know? And for me, before you tell me that, real quick, I'll just say the mistake that was made, you know, by, I think, the medical community and the people who are spreading, you know, like the information about people have to get vaccinated is that, you know, like there was no, and this is just from my own observation now after the fact, there was no empathy on what these people believed. They felt like they were being attacked.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, you know, like if you come to someone who, you know, feels like they're being attacked, you know, like logical stuff that's factual usually doesn't work. And you can see until today, you know, like there's no turning back for some of them.
Okay.
I think
Brown Sugar, Anajibu. People who don't work as healthcare professionals don't understand what was happening. They still don't understand how COVID got some of us burnt out. We're still traumatized, and no one ever asked us how we were doing. Alafu amepata triple love kutoka kwa Slay.
No, kweli hiyo hapo, but
totally agree on that. Ali wacha nikwambie how bad this thing was. COVID was so bad to a point whereby sisi watu hata tuingiko, sisi atutibu watu. We are just dealing with the data of it. We didn't know how to code the disease. We didn't know how to interpret how to take that data of the disease and quantify it into something meaningful to help the clinicians kutibu watu. We used to work I used to log in on my computer at 7 a.m. in the morning and log out saa 5 usiku. Like trying to write code, trying to figure out how we can get all this data, and then trying to do research. Our wanafanya research, wanatuletea data out, trying to get to a point where we can make this data meaningful to the people who are dealing with this. To the doctors, nurses, CNA who are in the hospitals, some of them are not even going home. for more than a week.
They couldn't go home.
Job. And yes,
Yeah.
and then unapata bado mtu hapa nje anaenda tu kuishi carelessly. Jua nikienda hosi ndapata kitanda natibiwa. Most people don't understand how bad this thing.
Ile video ya nurse analia anaambia watu please usije huko.
You know,
Bandio
the
and Ruth.
Anti-vaxxers,
Yeah.
if I can talk about that for a bit, I think it was a collision waiting to happen, right?
Okay.
I think this kind of brought the anti-vaxxers into a place where it was. And I'm gonna be very honest about myself and vaccines.
Oh, your vaccine?
No, I did.
Okay.
Just check.
But no, I did.
Tungekutoa.
But I have the only time I took the flu vaccine, I got so sick with the flu, and that was in 2004. And I guarantee you, that's the last time I got the flu, and I've never had another vaccine ever, and I've never had the flu.
But what was the difference between flu vaccine?
No, I'm saying that for a reason.
Okay.
And I need to build a story for anti-vaxxers.
Building.
So there are people who believe this thing is going to introduce what are they called, whatever, to their bodies, right?
Watu wasema utakuwa kuku.
Kweni empathetic.
No. We are. And also remember, chickenpox was eradicated in the US for a while until literally before COVID. New York had an outbreak, right, for kids. And it was a thing that they even had to close the schools because they're like, we need to make sure that kids, this is not spreading around the community, right? So I think the current generation we have, especially millennials, we are so removed from when
things were bad.
When things were bad, when vaccines were made a mandatory thing, we're so removed from that we think that, listen, we just need to eat healthy, live well,
go to the gym.
Vegetables,
live in nature. That's our thing. Live in nature. Introduce these pathogens into our bodies. Will be fine, right?
Seaweed.
But then, what happens is, so we have that brewing and we have thought leaders in that, and then COVID happens. And then they're like, now it is time to stand for our beliefs. I think that is where the collision happened. And people telling you, listen, you have to take this. You have to. So
you don't have a choice. It's mandatory.
You don't have a choice because we need to save humanity, so to say. So they're like, no, we're not doing that.
Sasa nyinyi mtomaliza hiyo bwana. Kuna nani nyingine hapa, right? Misinformation was most contributor, anasema Achuna. Brown Sugar amepewa appreciation hapa na love pia. Black Pearl anasema again, willful ignorance. Some people are just that. It doesn't matter if is facing them. It does not exist. The ignorance is like a religion and even cultures for them. No changing minds, no matter how much you FART.
That make the sound.
Okay,
go on.
Let's go now back to Albo again. Like I said, Albo is the person responsible for all these nice videos that you see on YouTube.
Post-production.
He's a very good. He's very good at video production.
Edited out.
But Ali amesema he's very good at as if anakuja kusema he's very bad at what?
No, he's just saying he's very bad.
Good at editing.
He's very good as if kuna kinachofuata.
No, me nasema I like this. Here's alternative opinions. Which
that word alternative is so
Kelly and Conway.
Okay, then let's say.
All right, voting in Kenya.
Yeah, so he talked about voting in Kenya. Let's hear what Albo said.
We voted in people who've never built anything. Everything they have, they can point directly to the public coffers as where they got that wealth. They've never built anything. Everywhere they are, they destroy. It's the blood and sweat of the people that work every day that goes to be drunk by these vultures, by these vampires. Unfortunately, the same people keep voting and defending these same buffoons. In this year, 2023, people still show up. When a politician says you go pray for the fucking rain or go pray for the economy or whatever, is that how things work? No. But here we are. We vote continually for the worst characters. Well, it does indeed show that's how we are. Not that that's an anomaly. That's how we are. We are all corrupt. We are inefficient. We don't want to build anything. Okay?
You're listening to the One Mic Show.
Okay.
Live from Kilimanjaro's studio.
All right. So interesting, like
Hiyo ni opinion yake.
Yes,
right?
the opinion
No,
yake, but I agree with a lot of what he's saying.
Yes, I do agree that
I actually agree with him.
Yeah.
I don't know about the use of his choice words, but I agree with him.
Yeah, that Bandiwa had to employ, a journalistic sense.
Because even buffoon, buffoon has some of the words that were meant. If you use buffoon, even sounds worse. Eh?
No. Says to mengia wildlife.
Yeah. No. Lakini, I tend to agree. We tend. Like when we look at, like different
point of view,
when we look at different ventures in Kenya, like when we look at sports, when we look at, the arts, when we look at medicine. But now when we come to politics, we elect very mediocre people. I'm sorry to say, it just happens that we elect a lot of and it's our fault, sisi sote.
But is it because the candidates are not the best?
Are we getting the best of the worst?
Yeah.
No, I think
in some cases. I think in some cases.
Now here was the problem.
No, I think the problem is our political systems. Like when people transitioned from monarchies to what we call democracies today, they felt like there was something that wasn't working with monarchies. So they moved to this. But now I think we are at a point where, like some of these democratic constructs are not working the way they were intended to. This system that we have today, especially with the advent of social media, the people who get rewarded are the loudest, the most bombastic, the most extreme. Those are the ones who get rewarded.
Yeah.
The people who are looking at things from a perspective of not necessarily left or right, but just looking at how do we solve this problem, they never get rewarded. As long as you can go dance in funerals and do some crazy things, now to Kanane, you're gonna get rewarded.
Manipulation.
So people who know how to peddle fear, those are the people who get rewarded by this system.
It works. Don't you all see Trump won?
Yes, and that's why I'm saying.
It works.
That's why I'm saying it works. One way of mitigating that in these democratic processes is using ranked choice voting. We've seen it implemented in some jurisdictions, like in Ireland, and even here in the US, in places like New York, the mayoral race. It was a ranked choice voting system whereby you're not only voting for one person, but you're voting for number one, you're ranking them. So they count the first round. If someone gets 50% in that first round, then the election is over. If no one gets 50%, they go to number two.
But you see, you're going to end up with the best of the worst. If
That's
all of them are just
we are fronting,
bunch of...
we are sorry.
No,
we are
this is what happened.
Mediocre candidates to begin with.
So wait a second. In that system, and I think people need to see it work. It doesn't work like this. This other, because if you're picking, let's say the presidential election was through ranked choice voting. If you vote, like Biden number one, most likely you're not giving Trump number two. So now, if most likely because you don't like
that
Trump,
would be like FIFA, how they do the FIFA.
Yes, yes. So you're most likely not giving Trump number two. So that means if both Biden and Trump do not score 50%. Then there might be a number two now who has a real chance. Number two, you're going to give, like a random moderate guy. Those guys who say, oh, this is a nice guy, but he can't win.
Ali.
Alus Dida.
Yeah, Alus Dida. So Dida would have gotten number two.
I don't even know who
but,
that is.
But
anyway,
you should know who
I'm going to
is.
say, who is that? I'm going to still say, I'm still going to say,
yes,
we are not fronting the right candidates to begin with.
And
I think,
I think that's the problem.
I think civic education is what's going to get us out of that mess.
I don't think the issue is civic education.
It is.
You know why I say that?
No, I don't think so.
You know why I say that? Because
I don't think it is.
Because these bad voting patterns, they are consistent from the most uneducated
to the most
very educated. They are consistent.
They vote
okay, so here's the thing.
Right?
Apply the same thing.
Yeah.
Chukua your whatever ranking voting or something.
Yeah.
CAS is juu nani wa Kenya, mbunge wa Kenya, right?
Yeah.
Take that system alafu peleka Bukoba wapige kura. Si utapata bingwa. Lakini hata hawamjui wanampigia. The issue is hata wenyewe wanavote wale.
They don't know these
wanaelewa.
people well.
Kwa sababu hiyo hata leo ukimchukua mtu meya sijui wapi uko Nakuru. Ukileta jina hapo ukasema kwamba aya wote wa Marekani pigeni kura. Ukiwekea pale watapiga kura. Will they get the right person? Kwa hiyo ninachosema hapa ni kwamba tatizo ni deeper than wanaogombea.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. Kabla hawajawa wagombea walikuwa wananchi. So the root iko huko. Kwa kufungua ni huko kwa sababu wote wanaogombea kabla hawajagombea walikuwa wanapigia watu kura. And it's the same shit system ambayo ina rotate over and over again.
And I'm willing to put money down. That's civic education in Kenya. Haijashika vizuri. I think that the powers that get in the way of that.
Okay, Micah.
Unajua kitu moja pia tunafaa kuunderstand hapa ni when we say civic education comes in so many ways, right?
True.
Civic education can come in ways whereby we are teaching people the constitution. Civic education can come, we are teaching people the civil hierarchy of the country.
Yes.
Now, if we want to teach people on how to voting, hiyo si tunafaa kuachia gava. Gava can only teach you how you're supposed to, like, what the constitution entitles and what the constitution entitles and everything else. Civic education should come from me and you.
Yeah.
Most people, unfortunately, if you look at the previous election cycles, the most tribalistic people have been people in the diaspora. Watu wamekuwa exposed, wameona policies work. But they're the same people when it comes to Kenyan elections, they forget about them. Alafu tuwe hapo tuweke middle class, wale watu piga kura Twitter, right?
Yeah.
Hao pia ikifika time elections, unaona akili zao pungua. People forget even what they're doing. It goes back to their favorite candidates. And then they start going what? The same thing. Now, you expect ule mama yuko ushago, right? Yeye Kenya nafikiria ni chakula.
Yes.
Mimi nakuja nampea 50 kila wiki, nakuja nampea 50, nampea 50, nampea 50, nampea 50. Unafikiri napigia hali kura yake mwambie
na hiyo na hii inaingia kwenye pande zote.
Mika.
Inaingia kwenye voting.
Kura. So if at all tutaongea na watu, if at all sisi tuanze kuongea na watu, tuanze kuambia importance of a good election. Umuoneshe okay, sikiza show. Na leo jamaa kupiga 50, lakini unaona huyu jamaa mwingine, huyu jamaa ukimpigia kura anafungua ile kiwanda ya kahawa. Kiwanda ya kahawa, ukirudi kupanda kahawa yako ulikuwa unapata pesa ngapi kwa mwezi? Hizi 50 huyu jamaa kupiga kila siku for the past 5 months.
Very true.
Haitoshi ile pesa unatengeneza kutoka kwa hii kahawa. Ukiambia watu ushagoambia benefits za kila kitu na Kenya mtu unafanya, wataanza kufikiria na waanze kufikiria kwa watu wapigia kura. Hiyo ndio civic education inafaa kufanywa. Sisi civic education tunategemea serikali inafaa kufanya civic education. So until the day that sisi wenye tuko exposed tutaanza to lead by the way, we can never expect.
Now umekuwa called out kwa kutoka.
Thank you, Mika. Can I say the reason why I got out of diaspora groups?
What?
Was I could not deal with the tribalism during election time.
What?
I could not.
Okay, haya tuendelee. Ila Mika amezungumza kitu kimoja.
Yeah.
Nafikiri Mrisho Mpoto alisema majanga yanapozidi mioyo ya wanadamu inaota kutu. Na hiyo inakuwa kwenye election, na hiyo inakuwa kwenye maandamano, anything. Inapofikia stage kwamba mtu anahisi I have nothing to lose, hata ule ubinadamu unaondoka. They don't think the same way.
Yeah.
Na hii ni hata kwenye who to vote for au I mean at that point it's like kaende. Tunakwenda kwenye maandamano tutapigwa. Haya, tuendelee.
Haya sawa. Diaspora investment in Kenya. Let's hear what Albo had to say.
Now, the diaspora, many of you, I don't know if it's most or many of you have invested in this country. And with the inflation, obviously, and low economic activities, because the economic activity has gone very low, because the Rutos and crew right now have to fill their pockets before they even care what happens to the rest of us. So you've made investments here. They are going to be less valuable, obviously. But not that in America or the other places things are going rosy. America especially, your inflation and your leadership is dog shit. You like to defend some of these degenerates. They've put you to war. They've put us to war in Ukraine. Many of you don't understand how that war in Ukraine came to be. You're just following these mainstream media narratives, making noise about them. You don't know it's lies. You don't know this thing goes back 10 plus years. You have not looked into any of their codes. You have not looked into the expansion of NATO closer to Russia. You have not looked into anything. But we are meant to, everybody in the world is meant to follow this narrative, especially of you Western woke people, leftists, whatever you want to call yourself. You don't see directly that it's affecting our economy. They're closing down things so that a few of them can make money. They're starting wars so that a few of them can make money. You think who's paying for that? Everybody is paying for that. And the fucking idiots that are everywhere defending these corrupt politicians all over the world, especially you diaspora Kenyans. All of you vote like black Americans. You vote for one party with your usual bullshit and propaganda and, oh, this party is bad. No. They're all corrupt. You know it, but you want to pretend you're the woke ones who want to fight for social justice. Social justice is dog shit. Social justice doesn't put food on people's tables except politicians and activists. Social justice is a pretentious way for the most mediocre among us to try and get ahead of us by pretending they're saving the world. Now everything has come home to roost. Now, but you can't change your minds anymore. You can't. You are beholden to these corrupt entities. Why should you care? I don't know, if you care that you're investing and things are getting spoiled, maybe you should care about that. You should care that you might not have as good opportunities in the future as you thought you were. You should care that even though you live in America or other places with better economic outcomes, it's being eroded all through mostly for our own decision making.
You're listening to the OneMic show.
Where? Woke Taliban.
Listen,
hapa mother.
No, hajasema Taliban, hajasema Taliban hapa.
Hakusema Taliban hapa, but amesema woke leftists.
Woke
Eh?
Okay, you know
what
can I?
Is it social justice that has led to equal pay to women? Is it social justice
Civil
that
rights.
has led to minorities being able to get a seat on the table and being able to get ways on how they're doing? Is it social justice that actually led to multi-party system in Kenya, which took out the one rule party? Is it social justice which actually has taken away forms of oppression that have actually... Is it even social justice that just brought independence? So when you say social justice doesn't help people, doesn't help put food on the table, doesn't do anything, social justice has brought a lot of things from affirmative action to where you are right now. Social justice is what's making you be able to come and make such comments live on air.
Right?
So the specific words he used, he said social justice. This is Albo, this is not me. This is Albo's words. Social justice does not put food for people on the table except for politicians and activists. Social justice is a pretentious way for the most mediocre among us to get ahead of us while pretending they're saving the world. That is Albo.
All right.
Yeah. Ruth.
Quick kwa sababu tuna clip nyingine mbili.
Oh my word.
Fupi.
Can I think Micah captured what I would have said really well,
Yeah.
by actually putting the mirror out. And I think one thing Micah did say, and Tabitha just Washeke just said, yeah, that is what is enabling you to air that opinion, and that people can listen to you.
Okay. All right.
All
Leo
right.
Micah amekuja na fire.
Kabisa.
Anakwambia brown sugar. Alafu by the way nilisahau. Omosh ulipewa 5 star na Slay. Ila ukaambia usizoe. Huwa atoi 5 stars.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
All right. Twende.
Okay, Twende. The next comment is about Raila and Maandamano. Albo.
Maandamano, bullshit. Raila should just shut up now. It's done. The time that he should have taken up the reins to run things was in 2007. After that, he compromised himself. He sold us off for Nusumukate. Now, it's like this guy fights more after he's lost than when he's supposed to win. It's like his thing. He has to be in opposition to shout and tell us we have a holiday. I don't know which fool is going to go on holiday that day after the last few years we've had with these politicians lying to us, pharmaceutical companies lying to us, activists lying to us, taking us for granted. Now this dude wants to come and I go to picket again for him to keep his position, a multi-billionaire? who runs big businesses in this country for decades? That is what you want me to do? To go and picket like a fool and let my business rot? It is unacceptable, and all of us are pretending. All of us don't want to say the truth.
You're listening to the OneMic Show.
All right. All of us are pretending, and we do not want to say the truth.
He has a right to his opinion. He doesn't have to agree with us. He doesn't have to, not at that us. He doesn't have to agree with people who want to go to protest.
Mm-hmm.
Right? He has a right to his opinion.
Me, I'm not with us. You guys.
All right. Wait until they mention your name. All right.
That's right.
What's next, Ali? Are we gonna do the future or
no? Let's do let's do the future first and save that one for the OneMic show last. Let's do the future. What Albo says about the future.
The future, we all know how it's going. The most powerful people own the media, all the means of production, whatnot, and they've convinced a number of us to follow their rubbish. World Economic Forum, talking about how you'll own nothing and be happy. Talking about how they're going to reshift and change the economies. Who are these people? Who are these people telling us they can change things? And they have not shown us anything, except that they take and take and take. And what some of us do is continue defending these same people. We refuse. We must refuse. Otherwise, there is no future.
You're listening to the OneMic Show.
All right. Who are these people? Take and take and take.
Can I say something?
Yes.
I think Albo reminds me of.
make sure naonekana mama.
He reminds you of someone you once knew.
Tunataka capture na emotions.
Yeah.
Albo reminds of a Jeep.
Me of the Appalachian Trump voters.
What about the Appalachian Trump voters are similar to Albo?
I said it reminds me of.
Okay.
Because their beef with the Democratic Party was, we get the same rhetoric from you guys all the time, and nothing really happens to us, right? And then at the time, if you remember, when even Clinton was talking about, coal will come to an end. Well, coal is their livelihood.
Yes.
So like I think these are people's livelihoods who are which is being affected, and somehow we're going on more like, oh, it's part of the thing, it's part of the plan. I'm like, nitakula nini? What will my kids do? And I think in this economic space, especially in Kenya, it's more like it's been the same. It's been the same story, same narrative. I'm not seeing any difference. I have kids to feed, I have a family to raise, and it's not changing. And I think that if I'm going to have empathy on that take, is from that point of view.
Okay. Wengine wote mtachangia baada ya last segment. Hiyo kwanza ndio inawahusu. Tucha, I like this guy honestly. Albo umepata triple thumbs up hapo. Steve anauliza hivi Albo ni Mkenya kweli?
I think Tucha and Albo can be on the same show. Send them there.
All right. Now, if we refuse, we are woke Talibans.
Slay, I am woke Taliban.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not.
Steven JJ anasema Albo ana sound kama ni msee wa ese.
Hata mimi Albo ni fan wa Malema. Amesikiza Malema na Joe Rogan.
No, but unajua, but unajua, I've come to learn that it's very important for people to listen to each other. Even if we don't
yeah, you don't have to agree.
Here's the thing. Nafikiri nasema Professor
you don't have to agree.
Ili ufanikiwe unahitaji marafiki. Ili ufanikiwe zaidi unahitaji maadui.
Okay.
Hata kama unaamini kwamba ni adui, ni opinion yake, sawa? Lakini hata kama unaamini kwamba wewe ni adui yako, you need them.
Yeah, and I think we actually need to bring Albo live on the show so that people can see him in action. This is a very tame version of Albo.
This is a tame one?
Yeah, this is a tame version.
Wow. All right, kuna message ya OneMic show.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a message he had for the OneMic show. And remember, Albo does our very nice video editing on Instagram, YouTube.
Sisi ni wadosi wake. Anataka kutuingilia.
No, we partner. Acha tuseme wadosi. We partner, like the same way you partner with your employer.
I do not partner with my employer.
I don't
That power dynamic is
partner with my
different.
employer.
You
That
partner with
power
your
dynamic
employer.
is different.
You partner with your employer
Anyway,
by making him
because
profit, and then he gives you a small
Ngoja, Mika
portion of that
anasubiri.
profit.
All right.
Yeah.
Na Slay anasema pamoja na yote video edits are
They
on
are
point.
on point. His
Like
video
this.
edits
Yes.
are on point.
Yes, yeah, his video edits are
I
on point.
appreciate that, Albo.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Yes, and actually, anyone who needs any video editing work, like contact Albo.
See us after class.
Yeah, not for political commentary, but for video editing.
See us behind the tent.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, so
wanaosema msikilize ni hawa. One mic show.
One mic show, I'll call you out.
Okay.
I'll call you out right now. You guys are too biased. You are too biased. You can't see clearly. You've gone to America and you've become woke people. You're trying to pretend, nini. No. You are not making coherent arguments. You are following social justice rhetoric rubbish. These people are making money by pretending. You know it. But you keep pushing it. You are not people who are giving guys an unbiased opinion. And that's one of the main reasons why the information we keep dispersing to people is so skewed that people can't make right decisions.
Okay.
The information we keep dispersing is so skewed that people can't make right decisions. Me, first of all, I mean, if Albo feels like a lot of people are making decisions just based on what they hear on the One Mic show, thank you so much for giving us that much credit. As far as whether we are biased, let me speak for myself personally. I'm one person who takes firm positions, and I'm very proud of that. I'm not one of those people who'll come and say I'm neutral. No, like for me, especially in situations where there's clear oppression, I don't like that neutrality stuff. So everybody on the One Mic show has their different style, and yes, if that comes out as biased, like tell us, bring us those different voices that are gonna neutralize that bias, and that's why we actually playing. Yes.
Biased opinion ni mimi nilikuwa addressiwa tena.
Okay.
You're the only one.
Aya, Mika, hebu tuambie ulikuwa unaadressiwa vipi?
Mika Scott Felix.
See really in the argument ya gay rights when alisema gay people alisema gay people in Kenya are paid to be gay. And we had a very long discussion. The point akasema where we were like LGBT community is a hustle because it's a hustle because so that's why I said we've been brainwashed to be woke. Now we're coming to give biased opinion, but it's not a biased opinion. That is somebody who's fighting for their life. That's somebody who's fighting for their right. You cannot tell somebody fighting for his life that or for his rights that it's a hustle. This is the thing with most people don't understand in this world. It's okay to differ with somebody. Haina shida. If I live my life in a certain way, you live your life in your own way. Allow to put an umbrella. As long as you're not interacting with each other, tuko sawa. And oppression comes out when somebody can't live their life because to you it's uncomfortable. And now you want to impose your beliefs on them. Wafikirie kaa wewe. You're oppressing that person. Hata kama umnyimi chakula umpige, unamoppress umfanye akwe yeye. We tend to even simple arguments about politics and nini. If you don't let somebody hold their opinion on how they're thinking, and you want to impose your opinion on them to a point back unamuita majina unafanya nini, you're actually not being a good person. You're not being a good person. You're not letting that person live the way they're supposed to be. It's okay to differ. We cannot be the same. We cannot please everybody in this world.
Okay.
As long as nobody is messing with you are eating, breathing, living, kunyamba na hizo vitu zingine, achana na watu waishi maisha yao.
Aya, sawa. Ruth.
Can I say kudos to Albo? I'm trying to walk a thin line over here. Well, I'm actually appreciating him for this one, right? He does find us biased according to him. but somehow he's able to work with our content and not have that affect how he's editing it.
Absolutely, yes.
I have to give him a ton of kudos for that.
Yes.
You know, I appreciate that about him.
Yeah.
Because listen, if it were me, I'll be like, I'm just saying.
Yeah, and I think that's the positive that we can get out of this.
Yeah.
That one thing that Albo has personally taught me is that I'm one of those people who at some point felt like I don't need to talk to any Trump supporter. I don't need to be associated with them. I don't need to have a conversation with them, because in my mind, I always had this image that a Trump supporter is a white guy from Kentucky or from Alabama, Appalachia, someone who we'll never meet.
Yeah.
Or even if we meet, we are never gonna be friends or have conversations with. Yeah. But now this came home. This is someone we know. This is someone that we are working with. So we have to, we have to deal with him. We have to work with him. And here's the interesting thing. I think if Trump, Albo is voicing it out. If Trump went and vied for election in Kenya, you would be very shocked.
He would win.
There's a lot of people who would vote for him.
Oh, he would win.
Yes.
I know that.
It would be very shocking.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think a landslide in Haiti.
Oh, he'd win.
Yes. So here, what I've come to learn is, you need to have conversations with these people so that you also understand, where they're coming from, and why they're doing what they do. Now, the one thing that I will sometimes disagree with him, whatever he accuses, the woke.
I think calling us names, honestly, can I say this?
Yeah.
Him calling us woke Talibans and things like that is what, you're not leaving room for discussion,
for conversation.
You've already labeled us, authored us, so that it's really hard to talk to you when you do that.
Yes.
I think what I would say, Albo, your opinions are different, alternative as you say it, but I think there's a way you need to have a conversation with people, not put people on that's just generally for anything.
No,
it's
you
not even
see,
do on defense. It's more like authoring people.
No, I think when you start, labeling people in that way, you're now doing what you're accusing them of doing. Because people on the left are the ones who are accused of calling people on the right uneducated, dumb. And it happens. It's not like it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
It happens.
It does.
But when you start also doing it, then now you're doing the same thing that you're accusing these people of doing. And one thing that I've come to learn, like with my years in media and communication and everything, is that whenever you get into a conversation, you have to have a goal in mind. If it's a debate, if it's for entertainment, if it's for learning, you have to have a goal in mind. So if part of your goal is to change the views of people who are woke leftist Taliban, if that's your goal, you want to change their views, the first thing that you want to do is to stop labeling them. Because the moment you label someone, they stop listening to you. Whatever comes after that.
Yeah.
So if your goal is just to rant and not have anything come out of it, that's okay. Yeah. Woke leftist Taliban works very well.
But don't tell them that.
But if your goal is just to rant and agitate them, that works very well. But if your goal is you're trying to make them see that, for example, that COVID did not exist, or it affected very few people in the world, whether it's true or not. But if that's your goal, you want to make them understand that when you start by woke leftist Taliban, that's not gonna work. And the same with people on the left. Kuna hii kitu sometimes you're assuming, people on the right are uneducated and they are just, they just don't know what's happening. They're brainwashed. So when you start using such words, even the word anti-vaxxers, I know we use it a lot. They don't like it, So if you're on the left and you're trying to convince Albo that COVID actually affected so many people in the world, you can start by not using that word anti-vaxxers. There's new words that have come up, like people who are vaccine hesitant. You know?
Sasa inasound kama virus.
Msicheke. Easy hapa. Easy hapa.
Mika.
Tuende kwenye comments.
Wacha nikwambie. It sounds like those people who say women should stop being called women and be called vessels who carry children.
Hapana. Hiyo sikubaliani na wewe.
Ukianza kusema wewe.
Hiyo sikubaliani na wewe.
There is no better name for an anti-vaxxer. An anti-vaxxer is an anti-vaxxer. Simple as that.
No, but you see, I agree with you, Mika, but they don't like being called anti-vaxxers because according to them, they've researched and they have made a determination that this vaccination either it doesn't work or this disease has affected very few people, and there's no point in shutting down the whole world. They're convinced.
And that's fine. You know what?
Yeah.
That's fine because the people who you're the opposite of the people who are getting the vaccine. No. So if ukiweza kuwa na stand and then you start trying to beautify your stand, that means it's like you're not even believing in your stand. It's like, why are you trying to beautify it to make it sound good, to make it politically correct? If I decide right now, niseme mimi sikuli ugali scrap, I cannot start calling myself the ugali intolerant human being. No, ugali ni takataka, it's trash. That's my decision that I should walk it. I should walk it and own it. That's what I've decided to do. So always sema tujite sijui ati wanajitaje
vaccine hesitant. Vaccine hesitant.
The thing is that they're not even hesitant.
Watakuja ku-beautify ataita double thinkers.
Dr. Sanjay Gupta went to the Joe Rogan show. Joe Rogan, big anti-vax or big vaccine hesitant.
Yes.
Yeah. He's big on that. But the whole Dr. Sanjay Gupta, alinyenyekea and he went there and spoke to him very soberly. And for me personally, I learned a lot, from that interview.
Did it make a difference to Joe Rogan, though?
It did not make a difference to Joe Rogan, but it made a difference to quite a number of people who listen to Joe Rogan. They will not listen to Sanjay Gupta. They're not going to go on CNN to listen to Sanjay Gupta, but they listen to the Joe Rogan show. So it did make quite a difference on a number of people who listen to... Because Sanjay Gupta is not there trying to say that, oh, look at me, I'm Sanjay Gupta. He's amenyenyekea, he's come to your space. He's come to your space. Ni kama mimi, nimeingia Sugoi.
Who's paying him to do that?
Nimeingia Sugoi kwa watu wa UDA. Na nimekaa hapo na nyenyekea. Nasikiza hustler narratives. Nasikiza hustler narratives politely, and I'm empathizing with them. I'm telling them, yani mko sawa. Hii kitu tupatie tu time.
Hiyo ni ngumu. Hiyo ni afadhali niende nikatafute na ni female rooster. Haya, wakati tunakuja kwenye maoni.
Ali, by the way, unajua ile dawa walikuwa na meza ile ya farasi ile ivermectin.
Yeah, ivermectin hiyo.
Do you know how many of them are dying right now for taking it?
Yes, Dr. Joe Rogan aliprescribe.
Okay, tuende kwenye maoni. Ngoja kwa tusikilize nani ametuma maoni. Yes, ametuma maoni hapa. Yes, tusikie na yana nini hapa. Na I hope sijapata kuiblip. Kwa hiyo kama ameweka vitu vibaya tutakwenda navyo tu.
Yeah, tutamfine.
Some of these opinions on, or rather provided by a certain somebody called Albo, I think he should just be relegated to a keyboard warrior. He doesn't live in the diaspora. He has no right to opine on social justice. He doesn't know what it's like to be out here and deal with the things that we deal with. I personally think he would qualify and do a good job as a Ron DeSantis runmate or somebody back there in his cabinet, because he sounds like he is open to having books removed or authors removed from the education system because people don't need to learn and remain in ignorance. That's just...
Mimi nimependa muziki.
Yeah. Hiyo ilikuwa Baby Shark.
Mimi nimependa muziki.
Yeah, the muziki was good.
Well, the commentary was good as well. I definitely loved the background music.
No, but I think also Albo should be the same way, like we are listening to his views, he should also be willing to listen to people who oppose his views.
Yes.
Like Rosalie Napa, like this Black Pearl. And that's just how we're gonna get forward. Black Pearl amesema he should be relegated to a keyboard warrior. Now these are things I'm learning. Those guys also don't like being called keyboard warriors. Let's just find another name to give them. Let's say like someone who has strong opinions. Someone who writes down strong opinions.
I mean,
on a keyboard.
These are things that I'm
what
learning.
do you say?
No, these are things that I'm learning, because if our goal is to get him to see our point of view, like when you start using
to see
words,
or to listen, there's a difference between seeing and then,
let's say listen,
because we're not trying to get him to cross over.
Yes,
he's not crossing.
Not even cross over.
Let's
just say to listen.
No, you want him to listen.
Let's just say to listen, not even to cross over. Not even to cross over. So words like anti-vaxxers, keyboard warriors, from the right are being seen the same way. On the left, we see those words like woke, leftist, Taliban.
Can I ask super producer what he thinks about that?
About what?
All of that.
What is all of that?
All of that is put them in put it in a sentence.
Construct a sentence.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
What do you think of what Ali is saying? We need to rename these labels for these people.
Because of what you're trying to accomplish, yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Now it depends. I mean, if you want to piss them off, keep those names.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you want them to have a sit down,
not,
because
though.
this is what I would tell
They
you.
are not, though. They are not.
And then who's gonna start that conversation?
Because we are still woke Taliban.
Yeah.
Where?
But until it's that's.
You see, you're not getting past that. That's the issue.
I think,
you need to get past
I remember
that.
who said it, but somebody say you will. I think I'm trying to get the quotation. The quote was, "You will not know them because you hate them. You hate them because you don't know them, and you never know them because you hate them." Okay. So you need to stop that. Someone need to stop that. Need to start the conversation, and then they'll come to understand. They need to understand. Now, like Ali said, it depends on what you want to achieve in that conversation.
Yes. What do you want to achieve?
Okay.
Do you just want to show them that you?
I don't see me achieving anything.
Then don't even have
don't even have that conversation.
I try not to.
Right? Don't try. Just don't have it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And then when you don't have that conversation is when you get shocked that Trump is the president.
Well,
that's when you get a shock.
But these people, once they realize the other side, once they do that, they appreciate and they become your quote unquote ambassadors.
And then you see another thing that I noticed is that part of the goal they have is to get an angry reaction from you, and that's what you should never give them.
From both sides. Right?
Yes, from both sides.
From Fox and MSNBC.
Yes, they expect an angry reaction from the other side. Mm-hmm. So when you actually listen to them and empathize with them, sometimes they get angry that you're actually listening, and
they did not succeed
because they did not succeed at angering you, because sometimes their goal is to get you angry and to get you to do some things that are out of character.
Love.
Yeah, I know, so yeah, ni kama ile una slap mtu alafu anakupatia the other cheek. That's unexpected. So when you do that, inawaacha wakitafakari. They may have lined up, like after woke leftist Taliban, they may have had so many other terminologies that they were planning to clap back with, but once you've shown them love, then all these msamiatis, they have nowhere to use.
End of the day is we have to coexist. That's one thing, and the other thing, you have to know what you're getting out of whoever you want to.
You see that the same way you see them is the same way they see you.
I know that.
It's the same way
so
they see you.
Eliminate those who don't.
And I think my decision has been, I'm going to engage you at a point where I feel I have the energy to engage you at.
But until then, don't.
That's my MO. That's
don't
my
sit
MO.
With them,
but remember, sometimes it's people.
Be ready.
Sometimes it's people you're working with. It's people that you're dealing with every day.
I actually enforce that thing at work. We don't talk about
politics. No.
Here.
I'm not talking about working. No, I'm not talking about working like your employer.
Yeah.
I'm talking about people that the people that you're embedded with. It's more that it's people within your community.
Did you hear me say I give Albo credit for working with us?
But that's
because I will find someone else.
But now you see, now when you say you'll find someone else, now that's another good point you bring up. When you say you'll find someone else, so those are the things that.
But you're not helping.
That atakama that's your sentiment. Atakama that's your sentiment. Just keep it to yourself. If you have a goal, if you have a goal to achieve, and of course we all have a goal of wanting a better society, a society where everyone understands that COVID is real. And that it can kill, like so many people within a very short time. That it has been killing people, So if we have that common goal, part of that goal is to get people to understand it's important to get vaccinated. So your goal is not necessarily, yes, unaweza kusema, yeah, I can stay away, kanini. But then when you have that common goal, then, like there's certain things that you just have to, like hakuna mtu ambaye anapenda debate kama mimi. Hizo debate za kurusha mishale hakuna mtu anazipenda kama mimi. Lakini there's certain things that I've learned. Like if I have a certain goal,
keyboard authors.
Yeah, or keyboard authors. Oh, that's a new one. I haven't.
Warriors.
We need to read.
I didn't know about that
we need
one.
to read.
Okay, go to the comments.
Okay.
Go to the comments.
It's called the Warriors in Masai. Keyboard Masais.
Keyboard Masais. No, keyboard Masais.
I swear there is no way to help you guys.
No, but here's the thing. Okay. This is how I take it. End of the day, you have to know what you want out of almost everybody. You cannot be friends with everyone.
Yeah.
That's one. And two, you have to know what you're getting out of any kind of relationship. For other people, you just, you're like, I love you, but, stay away from me. Other people, you're only connected to them kwa sababu, it's work, it's here, ni biashara, ni something, and keep it like that. Unajua. Unasema, like Ruth amesema, kazini amwambia, no politics. Strictly no politics, kwa sababu unajua what's an issue. Kwa hiyo, mwisho wa siku, it's you. Unajua here kwangu naamini kwamba kama una tatizo bado na wewe ni sehemu ya tatizo. It's either you created it au unasaidia liendelee kuwepo. Kwa sababu mwisho wa siku mimi mtu akinislap najiuliza maswali mawili. Kwanza nimemfanyia nini? Na pili, sometimes just stay away. Kama ningekaa 10 feet kutoka kwake hata mkono usingeweza kureach. Ndio. Nimempa opportunity ya kwenda that close mpaka amenislap. Na hiyo ni kitu ambacho mimi mwenyewe najifikiria. So najaribu kueliminate what I did au mimi na contribute vipi katika kitu ambacho kinani piss off kabla hata sijamfikiria yule mtu mwingine. So all I need to know is like kwa sababu ana mkono wa kuslap hata kwa 10 feet that's the closest anaweza kafika kwa mimi. Problem solved. Tuende kwenye comments.
Okay. With gonna have to go back a bit far.
Hiyo ni kazi yako utaiweza tu.
Okay, so I'll start with Slay. Now if we refuse, we are work Taliban's, which is it. Albo ni Mkenya kweli. Oh, we read that one. I like this guy, honestly, Albo, DJ Twitcher. Yes, bring him. We said we'll bring him on. Video editor on point. Sisi sote tuko pamoja. I like Albo pia, no lie. Please keep Trumpers out of the show. Walk Taliban strike 2, Wololo. Kenyans are tired. Naizi Sarakasi's sideshows. At this point, Rao seems like a double agent sasa. Mara handshake, mara nusu mkate, then elections usole, now maandamano, sisi ndio mafala. That's Tucha. Steven, hopefully it ended up prank because we are here sharing our honest opinion. No, it was not. Micah is right. Just because we disagree, that doesn't mean we are enemies. We just define what we believe in. Steven, kuna Raya 8 Mike walichill kura inafaa Raila iko well represented, so we all say majority voted na tunasema sawa, let's move along together. We have to coexist despite different ideologies or interests. We have to accommodate each other, and we also have to put anger aside to have meaningful discussions. That's interesting. Don't remember what that was. Kama sahi kuna mdulisiamini Kalonzo ile development amefanya Ukambani na ni kubeautify Ukambani na jela kadhaa with tall fences, end of Nduko. Not Baby Shark in the background. Black Pearl na kupenda. Keyboard authors, that's Slay. Followed your instructions, Ali. Sasa cancel culture will change the whole dictionary. Funny. That, interesting. Charles Barkley wana majina poa sana pia. Okay.
Oh, yeah, Alini Chess Barkley wa OneMic show.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
He's never scared of the cancel culture. Oh, that's Charles Barkley. Online rascals. Kenya needs a bigger person. Nduku Ndambuki, hii ni strong jameni. Slay aki inabidi we wamefanya zaka niweke jela mara kadhaa. For me, when I want to test my blood pressure and entertainment, I go to them conspiracy theories to see to see if I'm normal. Ali Badawy teaches Sensi the struggle. Someone was saying thumbs up to keyboard authors. Umesema kweli mtandao imetuleta karibu lakini pia imeleta shida.
True.
And then thumbs up, positive vibes, positive conversation, nice advice, Chonjo.
You know, one thing is when
we are done for the night.
Yes, we're done for the night. You know, I mean, time imeenda sana. But we're gonna get.
We missed a whole.
I know
segment. Which,
I know.
That's where we should.
I know. We are gonna give it. We're gonna give it a few minutes, and then we're gonna be done for the night. But one thing that I'm gonna advise people, hakuna mtu ambaye alikuwa anapenda debate kuniliko. If you come to my family, here's a funny thing. In my family, my extended family, tangu nikiwa mdogo, one of my nicknames nilikuwa naitwa Orengo. And for people who know who James Orengo is, and there's some people who call me that name until today. So let me tell you, when it comes to easy arguments za kurushiana mishale, me, I used to love them. You know, like I used to love them. Or uko na points zako, minda kuletea points zangu hapa. Tuchapane, mpaka tumalizane. Alafu tuone nani ameshinda sasa. But then, you know, like over time, violence. You know, like I came to learn, you know, like if these debates must have a goal. I think first of all, the way we were taught how to debate in school is problematic. Hii mambo ya hizi mijadala ati wewe
vuka sakafu,
shule za bweni na sijui shule za siku ama sijui jogoa shambani na jogoa mjini, you know, like, and then wewe unapatiwa side, you're supposed to defend it to death.
Education is better than money.
Yeah, education is better than money. Yeah, you unapatiwa side, you're supposed to defend it to death. I think the format should be changed whereby, yes, you're both given sides, and then each of you is also given an opportunity to say what they learned from the other side. And that's also scored, you know, by you just articulating what you learned from the other side. Because these debates, the way they are set up, it makes people believe that that's how everything in the world should be. Even how our politics is set up. Our politics is set up in such a way that one-sided. This side, you have to be against this side. It doesn't matter, you know, like what they're saying. And I think that's part of the problem that we have with our political system, where utakuta mtu for expediency purposes, a very interesting person is Barack Hussein Obama. You know, when you tell a lot of people that Barack Hussein Obama was against gay marriage before his 2008 election, most people will say yo ni uongo.
Yeah.
But you know, alikaa hivi akaangalia siasa, akaona pana, hapa itabidi niingie kwa hii kitu. Obama is great, but he's also a very astute politician. Yeah. And that's why alimkana yule, what was the name of that reverend? Who did their the reverend who did their wedding.
Their wedding.
Who did their
that
wedding.
guy, yeah.
Na akamkana Kipetero Kiesu.
Yes, that guy, yes.
Alimkana. And that's why I tell you, Kiyuda.
Yes.
Alimkana mara tatu. That was political. I know personally he had no issue with him. He had been listening to his sermons. No, nasema, that was all politics. That's why I say, you know, like, especially when, you know, because he had a goal, I'm sure maybe inside he may still be, and in fact, the person who snitched on him about the gay marriage issue was Biden. Biden wali snitch even before Obama, you know, like came out and said it. I don't know that it was deliberate, walikubaliana itakuwa hivyo, nenda ukaseme kitu because you like doing gaffes. Wewe nenda ukaseme ukaambie media and then tuone vile kutaenda, and then later on ndo akakuja akasema he's in support
day, he had to have a freaking press conference for that.
You know, so that whenever you have a goal, I think you have to be focused on your goal, regardless of what you feel about the other person or what you think about the other person. And another thing, whenever you're creating content, I was having a conversation with you earlier today. Whenever you're creating content, you have to think about, and content, I mean, even when you're talking to people, when you're writing something, you have to think about what it is that you want to make the audience that's going to be consuming your content feel, what you want them to think, and what action you want them to take. When you have those three in mind, hata kama you are one of the best debater, ulikuwa unavukisha watu sakafu kwa mwendo wa aste aste, unyo, you will calm down and understand that there are certain things, there are certain words when you use: anti-vaxxers, keyboard warriors, woke leftist Taliban. Once you use those words, it doesn't matter how amazing your content is after that. Whoever your audience is, they are no longer listening to you.
All right. Content in the social segment.
Yes, real quick, OmoshFaya.
OmoshFaya.
About what?
Angalia sasa Omosh ametugeukia.
No. I mean, what is the question?
Yeah, what is the question?
No, there's no question. There was something that you said.
Introduce
that
social segment.
We are talking about the social segment today.
We're done.
There was a conversation that you were very animated about. You said to me, skip. It was the most important. So that's why.
But I thought we were done. I thought that's so you.
No, we can do a few minutes. Yes, we can do a few minutes about it.
All right.
I think this needs. You know how we spent 3 hours on this.
I think
we need to dedicate a time for this.
Okay.
I think we should mention it.
Yes.
And we need to table this for next week.
Okay.
Honestly, because I don't. And by then, hopefully,
that's what we said, and then you started rolling your eyes.
Yeah.
No, because it looked like we were not going to touch it at all.
No, who said that?
Who said that?
Hussein Barack Obama. Yeah. So we found out earlier about losing a young man in Virginia to. Let's just say he was killed under very dubious circumstances.
Murdered.
Yes, he was killed. That's why I say okay, murdered. And for those of us who've watched the video clip of his mother, you know, with her attorney talking about it, it's very, very moving. And he happens to be Kenyan. This happened in Virginia, not too far from here, from where we are, within a 2-hour drive from here. And as more information is coming out, it seems that they basically did not learn from George Floyd. That basically the same types of procedures or restraining procedures that were used for George Floyd were used on this young man, Irvo Otieno. So, you know, our hearts go out to him. And we were supposed to go through a whole segment of the social segment and discuss this in depth, you know, with the rest of our audience and let everybody know. But as you can see, time has hampered us. Mm-hmm. But we cannot do this justice within any time within this show. And we were going to table that for the next show. And for sure, we're going to talk about it then. I hope that by then more information will have come out, and maybe we may even have the videos by then that the family saw. They may be released at that point, because they can't release the videos now because they're still under investigation. But they could not hold back from both the lawyer, because the lawyer has to see that, as well as the family. And his mother saw that, and what his mother saw, she tried to describe without, I think. She tried to describe what was happening without going into detail, because it's still an investigation. But you felt her pain, you felt her anger, you felt it. Because basically, what happened to this young man could happen to any one of us
yes, absolutely.
who basically fall under the DWB phenomena, driving while black. Or you could even have a medical emergency and these people are responding to it and don't know how to deal with you. Let's say you have an epileptic seizure or something and somebody does not get to understand that you're going through an epileptic seizure, and they assume you're resisting arrest. And now they're trying to restrain you when, so there's a lot to be learned out of this. But the other part to it is, why are we at the point where we have not learned? And these things are a continuous thing. And I always say, law enforcement, these guys are not trained for medical stuff. It's not their training. They're trained for dealing with folks who are shooting, driving cars, nini, arrests and things like that. They're not the people who should be dealing with medical emergencies. What is the correct situation, or should I say, what is the correct solution for dealing with folks who are having mental breakdowns, even if it's a matter of just transporting somebody from point A to point B? And even if they continue acting out and they have come in for a mental type of situation, why would you then take them to jail? Their issue is medical. It's not criminal.
Cool. And that will be for next week.
Stay tuned.
To get sound clips, professionals and shmees.
Yeah, we'll have to. I would think we should get some mental SMEs to come in and explain to us what goes on behind the scenes and why one would use law enforcement to do the transportation. And then if this person continues to act out, why are they now considered resisting arrest and or disruptive and not to be quote unquote restrained in the mental facility correctly?
Yeah, let's talk about that next week.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah. Rest in peace. Rest in peace, Ervo.
My heart goes out to his family. This is a horrible way to lose your child or your brother. It was nice being in the studio today. We had some really good conversations. What?
It was nice having you in the studio today.
Wacha kumwangalia hivyo. Look at the microphone.
It's always a pleasure being in studio. You know what? I will try my best to come in next week. I really hope this is a topic we have. Ali is happy about that. I had a conversation earlier on today. So after next week, I'm going to try my best to come in next week. But after next week, I'm taking an extended leave from the show just because I'll be traveling.
Extended break.
Break, so not leave, break from the show. I'll be traveling quite a bit, and I'm not sure whether I'll be around most Fridays. But when I can, I'll be tuning in the show, contributing from wherever I am. If someone wants to guest host with the show, I think Zoom works.
Okay.
I'm just saying.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. So that means you're gonna be guest hosting.
Not me.
While you're Zoom, you don't say Zoom works.
Saying,
I did not mention it.
I know. I'm just saying.
We'll just send you the link.
We'll send you the link.
I mean,
in fact, I'm sending it right now.
You're gonna send me something when I'm in Zanzibar at the beach.
In fact, that's even better.
Yeah, but
but now ukiwa Zanzibar data plan. My
so
dear.
Now, so you really cannot do Zoom from
Where?
there. Cannot do Zoom from there.
Utaumia.
Cannot do Zoom from there.
Yeah, ukienda na Safaricom line unaumia.
Just get there nini.
Alafu unajua vile
actually it's not that expensive.
Unajua vile T-Mobile wa ina roam. Guess what? Ukifika Zanzibar, Dar es Salaam. That is the end of roaming.
Lakini I don't know. Mimi package ninanunulia watu wanaonifanyia kazi. It's about napata 60 GB for $22.
But you have to have a Tanzanian line.
Of course, yeah.
Yes, you have to have a Tanzanian
which is
line.
what we're telling us. Do you use a hotspot?
Yeah.
Take the have
the
hotspot device.
Fanya hivi Ali. Nenda mchukue mtu na line unachukua wifi unaendelea.
That's another. Hata hiyo wifi kupokea.
Iko sawa tu sasa hivi bwana.
Kuna expert hapa wa Tanzania.
Mimi nina stream nao sasa hivi. So
who ni expert anaenda akiwa na line ya Tanzania. Mimi am an expert.
Mimi sina line ya Tanzania. Ila ukifika pale
yeah.
Ongea na watu Ali. All right.
It's okay. You'll talk to, when you're gonna be in Fumba, you'll talk to him.
Yes.
We'll put you together with the
off grid.
The
goal is to go off grid.
We don't understand that language.
That's why.
This
but
grade sounds
when
like
I can, I will definitely join in the show.
Okay, so
okay, we shall miss you, Ruth.
Karibu.
Actually, that was not me. It was Steven. Omosh.
I almost thought that was Pablo. So
can I start
sure.
before I go?
Go ahead.
In preparation for next week's topic, I'm gonna do shamelessly plug in right now. I have a podcast that literally addresses that topic. It's called Diaspora Conversations, and I work hard this weekend to post one episode that really talks about African and African Americans.
We are gonna send you an invoice for that plug.
Not a problem.
Okay, so we like that.
And I will send you an invoice for my time.
And we will
which
send
time?
you an
the
invoice.
Podcast time or see us after class?
Oh, see you after class. Okay. Okay.
This one over here.
Rude.
Okay, so are we winding up?
Yes.
Yeah.
She did.
Oh, okay. All right. Asanteni mabibi na mabwana, watazamaji, my fans, and Slay. 5. Kweli. That one I think I'll have to send you a drink.
Another iko over influence.
Yes, that is very possible too. But thanks everybody for coming through. Today was different, and we really enjoyed ourselves. If we had more time, we probably would have gone maybe even till 4 o'clock in the morning. But clearly, we have to shut down at some point. Stay tuned. Come through next week. We promise to finish the segment that we did not finish.
Yes.
And hopefully we will have more insight on it and be able to do a better job with it, because we know we cannot do that in the time frame that we allotted. Enjoy your week. Enjoy with your loved ones. And don't forget to just be you. I'll see you. Peace.
Okay, asante sana OmoshFaya. I want to thank, first of all those that contributed to the show today. This was a different format that we experimented on. We listened to, you guys hear our voices, every week. So we're just experimenting with something different. And as you can see, people have resonated with it. It's nice when we hear your voices, So thank you, Slay Odwor. Thank you, Asheke. Thank you, Sambaza Podcast. And thank you so much, Albo. Keep those comments coming. Lakini achana na stories za woke, leftist, Taliban. Hizo achana nazo. But leta hizo points of view, hata kama tuna disagree. Umeona kuna vitu nyingi sana ambazo tumekubaliana na wewe on what you said. So I think that's important. Naona hata our super producer here had to do some ukarabati on some radio-like language. But we got the gist of all that you said. And now, maybe you can reassess on whether you still feel the One Mic show is biased, because if we were biased, we would definitely have not played those viewpoints. We would have pretended they don't exist. We would have just played the ones that align with whatever we think we are aligned with. So yes. So on that note, pia wewe, the same way tunakusikiza, hata pia wewe tusikize kidogo. Hata watu woke, leftist, Talibans, out of 100 things, maybe 90 may not be good, but there's that 10% that you'll get.
Sometimes you're tender in a save life.
Now, sometimes you're tender in a save life. Sometimes you're tender in a save life. So that's important. It's just like mtu ambaye anachimba anatafuta dhahabu. Atachimba, atakuwa na area anachimba, amechimba, but hiyo moja hiyo amesema amechoka, maybe hapo ndo pali dhahabu iko. So you never know. And that's the reason why it's important to, how do I put it? It's important to listen to the other viewpoint. And before I forget, remember that point I brought out on when you're talking to someone else, someone of a different viewpoint, or rather when you're creating content, you need to contemplate about how you want to make the people feel, what you want them to think, and what action take. This actually got from career coach Tabitha Njeri, who's gonna be on the show next week. Haja confirm bado, but she's gonna be on the show next week. We're gonna be talking careers. She's been here before, very given, points that people have taken action on, and very important. And I'm also gonna say she's also been very influential in, just shaping how I, bring out my arguments sometimes. That's why mnaona nimekuwa si ati softy, nimekuwa
strategic.
Not strategic. Yani nimekuwa I think I'm a better listener. I think I'm a better listener, and I also think, that I critically analyze, whenever I'm putting out an argument, what goal is it that I'm having? I mean, you've been seeing me making a lot of different posts on finances. Finance is one of the most emotive issues, and if you communicate in the wrong way, or if you attack people for something that they're doing, for their spending habits or anything. This past week, there was an issue with Silicon Valley Bank, and I was looking at from a perspective of Kenya. In Kenya, in the US, up to $250,000 of your money is insured in a bank. In Kenya, it's only $3,500. A lot of people did not know that, which is 500,000 shillings. A lot of people are holding a lot more than that, and I was just bringing an argument that you need to split that money.
So open different bank accounts.
Yes, open different bank accounts, not in the same bank, in different banks.
Different banks.
Yeah, in different banks. So yes. Na kwa hayo machache, yeyote ambaye anataka kunipigia simu, nambari yangu bado ni ile namba ya ukweli 1-800 mteule. Na operator akishika simu, mwambie nataka kusema na mjukuu. Na akikuuliza ni mjukuu yupi, mkumbushe ni mjukuu yule wa Masai. Because I'm Kenyan by blood, American by design, Masai by choice. Sichagui, sikagui, na sibagui. Kwaherini.
Number doesn't work.
Kidogo nashangaa sijasikia Aiden. Daddy loves you.
I know.
Jerry, Daddy loves you.